employment, with its mutually supporting elements, had put him in a passive position. Moreover, from beginning to end, Grandpa Yi was on the defensive and never launched an attack. It was obvious that he was intentionally trying to get Chen Yang to give up. This made Chen Yang realize that the gap between his chess skills and those of Grandpa Yi was like a chasm. Another 7 or 8 minutes passed. Chen Yang's final offensive also failed to secure the victory. He raised his head and met Old Master Yi's gaze. Old Master Yi's chess skills are superb, and he is well versed in the art of strategy and tactics. I am completely convinced. I lost this round. Such behavior highlights Chen Yang's openness and integrity, which makes Old Master Yi feel more favorably toward him. Excellent, able to accept defeat and let go, possessing admirable character. Grandpa Yi nodded and praised Chen Yang. I'll go first in the next round. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang naturally dared not have any objections. Detected that the host played chess against Chess Master Yi Aguo and benefited greatly from it. Chess proficiency plus 2000. Chess skills have been upgraded from beginner to advanced. Advanced chess 010000. At the same time, a flood of memories about chess techniques, various advanced chess scores, and ancient fragments suddenly surged into Chen Yang's mind, making his head throb instantly. Fortunately, his extraordinary brain functioned very quickly, allowing him to absorb and digest this memory, ultimately giving Chen Yang an extra 10 years of chess experience, which he could better integrate and apply. Grandpa Yi did not notice the change in Chen Yang. It was rare for him to encounter a junior who was so skilled in chess. On a whim, he couldn't help but reveal some of his true skills. He thought Chen Yang wouldn't be able to handle it, but Chen Yang's next move shocked him. This was because Chen Yang perfectly replicated his defensive formation from the previous game. I never expected this kid's memory to be so amazing. He was able to memorize my entire formation after just one look and perfectly integrate it into the game. The ability to apply what one has learned is a talent that I myself would not have believed if I had not seen it with my own eyes. However, even so, it ultimately cannot change the outcome. After his initial shock, Old Master Yi became even more serious. Even though Chen Yang's chess skills have improved from beginner to advanced, his strength has greatly increased. But when faced with Old Master Yi getting serious, the final result was a foregone conclusion. Chen Yang still lost. However, Grandpa Yi could clearly feel that Chen Yang's chess skills had improved significantly compared to before. Old Master Yi, I've lost again. Chen Yang looked ashamed and said to Grandpa Yi, "It's normal for you to lose, but I can clearly feel that your chess skills are improving. Let's play another round to confirm whether Chen Yang truly possesses this terrifying learning ability." After much deliberation, Grandpa Yi decided to play Chen Yang again. Grandpa, you noticed it too, didn't you? Let me tell you, Chen Yang has an amazing talent for learning. Whether he studies finance, cooking, or tea-making, as long as he studies diligently, he can quickly master the core skills. Yi Qingye said excitedly. Such a thing is true. Old Master Yi's eyes flashed with a strange light as he asked Yi Qingye. Of course, he's just that outstanding. If you knew what he had achieved in the financial field, you wouldn't think what he just said was just bragging. Yi Qingye smiled and explained. All right, then I'll take a closer look. After saying that, Grandpa Yi refocused his attention on the chessboard. You go first this round. Hearing this, Chen Yang nodded slightly. He pondered for a few seconds, analyzing in his mind Old Master Yi's chess playing habits and preferred techniques. After a long while, he finally took the first step. At first, Grandpa Yi didn't think much of it, but halfway through the game, his expression became more serious than ever before. This time, Chen Yang actually summarized his chess playing habits and created a game specifically for him in advance. Unfortunately, Grandpa Yi didn't take it seriously at all. By the time he realized it, it was too late, and there was nothing that could be done. Chen Yang's divine move staged an astonishing comeback victory. Detected that the host, having learned from his shame, has meticulously laid a trap and managed to defeat Chess Master Yi Aguo, resulting in a critical hit that doubles his proficiency by 4,000. Advanced Chess 40010000. Grandpa Yi stared blankly at the chessboard in front of him, lost in thought. He never expected that Chen Yang was such a deep thinker. Taking advantage of his underestimation of his enemy, they meticulously laid out a trap that would result in heavy losses for themselves, but also kill 1,000 enemies. As a result, a textbook example of a comeback against all odds unfolded. They turned a seemingly hopeless game into a completely viable one. This is the first time in so many years that Grandpa Yi has encountered such a talented young person. It's not the kind of rigid application of chess manuals or the usual routines of the game. Instead, he followed the old master Yi's chess-playing habits, countered his moves, and knew how to feign weakness before launching a thunderous attack after a successful opening. It was a textbook example of a counterattack. To be honest, this greatly impressed Grandpa Yi. Chen Yang, you're definitely a capable guy. No wonder he has gained the approval of Zheng Hua and Wen Jai, a married couple. Grandpa Yi looked at Chen Yang with a smile and said. Chen Yang nodded slightly and said in a flattering tone, Old Master Yi's chess skills are superb, far surpassing those of professional chess players. If I hadn't underestimated my opponent, I wouldn't have been able to win by chance. Seeing this, Old Master Yi waved his hand. All right, stop flattering me. Winning is winning and losing is losing. It's not shameful to be less skilled than others. What's shameful is refusing to admit defeat. I must admit that your chess skills are unpredictable. You not only know how to conceal your weaknesses, but also how to use the moves I have used before. You use deception and cleverly set up a killing move to lure me into the game. The plan is ingenious, with each step linked to the next. It is evident that your thinking and strategy are extraordinary. Among your peers, it is indeed difficult to find many outstanding young people like you. Seeing that his grandfather had such a high opinion of Chen Yang. Only then did Yi Qingye realize that her grandfather was undoubtedly completely shocked by Chen Yang's performance. Chapter 183, Purple Clay Teapot Specially Supplied Tea, a symbol of status and prestige. Mr. Yi, you flatter me. This junior is not very knowledgeable, and will need to ask Elder Yi for more guidance in the future. Chen Yang dared not think too highly of himself. If it weren't for Old Master Yi's momentary carelessness, no matter how many tricks he used, he would never have been able to defeat his opponent. After all, Grandpa Yi is a chess master. Judging from his skill level, Chen Yang's chess level must be at least at the master level to have any chance of truly surpassing Grandpa Yi. Chen Yang's current proficiency level is 6,000 experience points away from reaching the master level. It's not something he can upgrade in a short time. You're quite modest, kid. Grandpa Yi looked at Chen Yang with a newfound appreciation. It was at this moment. Footsteps sounded outside the door. An elderly woman with white hair and a sprightly face walked slowly towards them. Xiaoya, I heard from your parents that you specially came back from Shanghai to celebrate your grandfather's birthday. Your filial piety is truly admirable. Grandma Yi looked at Yi Qingye with eyes full of affection. Grandma, where did you go? I came back, but I didn't see you. Yi Qingye quickly ran forward, took her grandmother's arm, and said in a slightly coquettish voice, I'm getting old, but I can't stay idle, so I just went for a walk outside. I just didn't expect you to get home so quickly. Grandma Yi had a kind face. Then she glanced at Chen Yang and asked in a low voice, Is that handsome young man your parents are talking about your boyfriend? Grandma, have my parents told you everything? Yi Qingye's eyes widened as she pressed for an answer. They originally intended to keep it from me. But after I pressed him repeatedly, he finally confessed. After all, I'm not like your grandfather. There are some things you can hide from him, but you might not be able to hide from me. Grandma Yi said with a light laugh. Grandma, I really don't know how to tell Grandpa about this. Now that you know, could you please help me? Yi Qingye was already feeling somewhat uneasy. After seeing how difficult things were for Chen Yang, she was even more afraid to bring it up. She was terrified that any goodwill her grandfather had developed for Chen Yang would vanish instantly. Seeing that Grandma wasn't angry after learning the truth, I realized that she wasn't angry at all. Therefore, Yi Qingye suddenly felt hopeful and wanted her grandmother to step in and explain to her grandfather on her behalf. Incidentally, it also helps to better soothe Grandpa's emotions. Xiaoya, tell Grandma honestly, do you really like Chen Yang? Do you really want to be with him? It wasn't because you two had an accidental relationship and got pregnant that you made a hasty decision out of necessity. Grandma Yi asked Yi Qingye with a serious expression. It was obvious that she cared more about Yi Qingye's true feelings. Grandma, Chen Yang is very good to me, and he is also very outstanding. The child was indeed a factor in my decision to be with him, but the main reason was that I liked him. Grandma, you should trust your granddaughter's judgment. He was not the most illustrious among my many suitors, nor was he the wealthiest or most powerful. But he is definitely the most talented, the most handsome, the most considerate, and the best man to me. He is an exceptional individual. Given time to grow, his future achievements will surely earn him the respect of countless people. I can assure you, Yi Qingye was very clear about what she was doing. She understood even more clearly that Chen Yang was a man she could only dream of meeting once in her life. Once missed, there will be no chance to make up for it, and it may even cause her to regret it for the rest of her life. The most crucial point: after spending time with Chen Yang, she had been deeply attracted by his charm and had fallen completely in love with him. Even if other, more outstanding men appeared in front of Yi Qingye, she would not change her mind. After all, Yi Qingye has always been very cautious when it comes to relationships. I will hold your hand and grow old with you. Once she falls in love, she will never change her mind. Okay, since this is your choice, Grandma respects it. But before that, he still has to get past your grandfather. After all, your grandfather makes all the major decisions in the family. Even I can only offer suggestions from the sidelines and dare not interfere directly. Grandma Yi's voice was gentle. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye nodded quickly. Grandma, as long as you're willing to plead with Chen Yang on my behalf, that's fine. Chen Yang is so outstanding, of course Grandpa can see that. However, I'm afraid that because of me, he will have a bad impression of Chen Yang. On the other side, after finishing their game of chess, Grandpa Yi and Chen Yang quickly moved to the living room. Chen Yang glanced at the extremely valuable set of purple clay teapots on the tea table, and a look of shock flashed across his eyes. After all, some things can't be bought with money. Instead, it will only appear in the hands of people whose status and position are commensurate with its own. Chen Yang, do you recognize this? Grandpa Yi had a kind expression. He picked up the purple clay teapot with his right hand and slowly began to handle it. A Xisha teapot, a rare and exquisite antique. This set is worth at least 5 million. Chen Yang took a deep breath and replied to Old Master Yi. Not bad, you have a good eye. This is a birthday gift from an old friend I've known for decades, given to me many years ago. Grandpa Yi looked pleased, clearly pleased that Chen Yang recognized the set of purple clay teapots. I've heard Uncle Yi and Aunt Wen mention that you enjoy calligraphy, chess, tea, and antiques and paintings. Perfect timing, young man. I know a little about tea ceremony. If you don't mind, I can demonstrate something for you. Chen Yang knew this. Grandpa Yi is still evaluating me. He needs to put in more effort to get Qingye to agree to their engagement. Showcasing your talent and abilities is only the most basic part. But now that such a good opportunity is available, Chen Yang certainly won't miss it. He'll seize any opportunity, and if there isn't, he'll create one. Only if Grandpa Yi fully realizes her excellence will he possibly agree to let her get engaged to his most beloved granddaughter. Oh, you know about this. Upon hearing this, a hint of curiosity flashed in Old Master Yi's eyes, and his gaze unconsciously began to scrutinize Chen Yang carefully. Grandpa, what Chen Yang said is true. My parents and I have witnessed it firsthand. Chen Yang not only understands tea art, but the tea he brews tastes even better. Yi Qingye helped her grandmother walk over. Hearing the conversation between his grandfather and Chen Yang, he couldn't help but speak up to explain. Really? Then show us and let us all see for ourselves. Upon hearing this, Grandpa Yi smiled kindly and wanted Chen Yang to show off his skills. Chen Yang was not intimidated. He stood up gracefully and then sat down on the sofa. I boiled a pot of water and warmed the cups in pot. Next, tea leaves were taken out from a small red jar. Chen Yang recognized at a glance that this was no ordinary tea. It was a special supply of top-grade Huaishan de Hong Pao tea to high-ranking officials and military leaders, which money couldn't buy. Only those who have reached a certain level of status and position are qualified to be provided with the finest tea. Chapter 184, showing off his tea ceremony and culinary skills. He'll go all out to win the heart of his beloved. Fortunately, Chen Yang had a strong mental fortitude, remaining calm and composed. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he methodically took out the tea leaves and put them into the teapot. After that, we proceeded to the tea washing process. Remove impurities or unprocessed residue from the surface of the tea leaves and simultaneously awaken the leaves to promote the subsequent extraction of tea liquor. Precise timing is crucial to avoid nutrient loss. When refilling water, use the Phoenix 3 nods technique, where the spout nods up and down 3 times. The technique is skillful and highly entertaining. Then the tea is poured into teacups to ensure that each cup has the same color, aroma, and flavor. The whole process, this gave Grandpa Yi a clearer understanding of Chen Yang's tea ceremony. Mr. Yi, please. Not long after, Chen Yang then brought the tea to Old Master Yi, gestured for him to enter, and said respectfully, Grandma Qingye, these are for both of you. Chen Yang had not forgotten the existence of old Madam Yi and Yi Qingye. Then he placed the teacup in front of them and gestured with his eyes. The next moment, everyone picked up their teacups and gently sniffed them. The aroma of tea is irresistible, and its flavor is refreshing and delightful. After a long while, he began to savor it carefully. When the tea enters the mouth, there is no bitter taste. Instead, a rich tea aroma and a hint of sweetness emerge, lingering on the lips and teeth. This taste brought them a completely new experience, especially Grandpa Yi. He was a tea lover and drank several cups of tea every day. Over the years, he had tasted countless types of tea. Using the same teaware and tea leaves, Chen Yang's tea was noticeably more fragrant and tasted much better. This surprised Old Master Yi. "It tastes good. Chen Yang, it seems your tea ceremony skills are quite impressive." Grandpa Yi smiled kindly and couldn't help but praise him. "Elder Yi, you flatter me. It's just a quackery and I'm only showing off in front of you. However, good tea ceremony can better preserve the aroma and taste of tea. As a tea lover, you can naturally discern the quality of tea." Chen Yang smiled calmly and replied neither humbly nor arrogantly. "You and Qingye just got off the plane and went straight home. You haven't had time to eat yet, have you? I've already asked the housekeeper to buy the groceries, and the meal will be ready in a little while." That's what Grandpa Yi said with concern. Grandpa Chen Yang can cook. His food is delicious, much better than Aunt Wu's. How about we have him show off his skills for you and Grandma at lunchtime? Seeing that Chen Yang had a chance to shine, Yi Qingye certainly wouldn't miss it. She was very excited and immediately spoke to her grandparents. "Chen Yang is also good at cooking. He doesn't look very old. How could he know so many skills?" Grandpa Yi's eyes brightened slightly, showing some surprise. Yi Qingye immediately smiled and explained, "Grandpa, Chen Yang knows a lot of things. Don't let his youth fool you. His learning talent is terrifying. He can learn to imitate many things after just a few glances. With a little effort and thought, he makes significant progress. His culinary skills have improved step by step under my personal observation." Upon hearing this, Grandpa Yi became interested in Chen Yang's learning talent. He couldn't help but think of it. Just now, when Chen Yang played chess against himself, he demonstrated an astonishing learning ability. Then apply what you've learned and draw inferences from one instance to another. Ordinary people simply could not do this. This shows just how outstanding Chen Yang's talent is. "Really? Then I'll have to see for myself." Old Master Yi chuckled awkwardly. "It's great if guys can cook. That way Zioil will be in for a treat." Grandma Yi nodded in satisfaction. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye quickly gave Chen Yang a wink. "Chen Yang, come on, I'll take you to the kitchen." As he spoke, she then took Chen Yang's hand and walked towards the Yi family's kitchen. A few minutes later, the two went into the kitchen. Various seasonings were neatly arranged on the stove, and next to it was a large refrigerator containing a lot of ingredients. At first glance, it looks like it was just bought this morning. "Chen Yang, my grandmother already knows that I'm pregnant. She just promised me that she would put in a good word for me with my grandfather. So all you need to do is showcase your superb culinary skills and completely win over their taste buds. If you can make them happy, our marriage will be more than half successful. Leave the rest to me." Yi Qingye hugged Chen Yang, a hint of determination flashing in her eyes. After spending this time together, she became even more determined to be with Chen Yang. Even her grandparents and parents couldn't sway her mind. Chen Yang has already sacrificed enough for their marriage. Therefore, Yi Qingye should also take the initiative to strive for her own happiness. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Chen Yang nodded with a smile. Then, he took the ingredients out of the refrigerator and then rinsed them with water. Once the recipes were ready, I immediately got to work. Host detected cooking. Knife skills proficiency plus 500. Culinary skills proficiency plus 500. Advanced knife skills, 4001-0000. Advanced culinary skills, 4001-0000. Although he only makes home-style dishes, Chen Yang's advanced knife skills and culinary expertise are evident in his dishes. The preparation of ingredients, the control of cooking time and temperature, and the combination of seasonings have all become more complicated. 4 dishes and a soup, beautifully presented and still steaming with the aroma of a wok. Soon, Yi Qingye took it to the dining table outside. At this time, Grandpa Yi and Grandma Yi immediately cast curious glances their way. It wasn't until he saw the dishes on the table, each one a feast for the eyes and the palate exquisitely presented, that he realized Yi Qingye really wasn't lying. Laymen watch the spectacle, experts watch the details. Although the two elders were not chefs, they were of noble status and had attended state banquets and various other banquets. They had tasted all the signature dishes of state banquet chefs. Just by looking at the presentation of the dishes, you can tell how skilled a chef is. Anyone who lacks basic skills won't be a great cook either. Any highly skilled chef, his attention to detail is extremely rigorous. Without this spirit of striving for excellence, one is destined not to go further or achieve greater heights on this path. From the dishes Chen Yang prepared, his parents could easily tell that Chen Yang's basic skills were outstanding. At least it has reached a professional level. Of course, the appearance of a dish and its taste are two different things. Whether it's delicious or not, you have to taste it yourself before you can make a decision. Yi Qingye immediately served the rice to her grandparents. "Grandpa, Grandma, please try it and see if Chen Yang's cooking suits your taste." Seeing this, Grandpa Yi and Grandma Yi exchanged a glance, and a smile appeared on their lips. "Okay, then I'll try it." Grandpa Yi took the chopsticks and headed towards his favorite dish, braised pork. The braised pork belly is rich but not greasy, tender but not mushy. The broth was cooked until it was rich, fragrant, and slightly sweet. It has a delicious flavor that leaves a lingering aftertaste. Chapter 185, Divine Braised Pork Belly, a delicious taste from Old Master Yi's memories. Beginner's Guide to Antique Appraisal. Not only that, this braised pork reminded him of the taste of the food, cooked by the logistics squad leader when he was fighting in the war. I heard that the old squad leader's ancestors were master chefs in the Imperial kitchen. There is a special secret recipe for making braised pork, and the taste is unforgettable for those who have tried it. At state banquets, some top chefs have also tried to recreate the taste of this braised pork. Although it tasted delicious, it was a pity that something was still missing. But at this moment, the braised pork that Chen Yang made tasted exactly the same as the one that Grandpa Yi had eaten back then. Delicious, this flavor is absolutely amazing. Grandpa Yi was excited, and his expression revealed his enjoyment of the food. Seeing this, Grandma Yi also tried it. The food was not only delicious, but it also amazed her. This culinary skill has reached the level of a chef who prepares dishes for state banquets. Chen Yang has reached this level without any systematic training or a teacher, which shows how amazing his talent is. At that moment, Chen Yang came out of the kitchen. He walked to the dining table, sat down, and said politely, "Mr. Yi, Mrs. Yi, you two are used to eating delicacies. I don't know if you can get used to these home-cooked dishes. I've made a few dishes on a whim. Please, gentlemen, taste them." Grandpa Yi waved his hand, his gaze fixed on Chen Yang. Immediately, he asked in a deep voice, "Chen Yang, where did you get the secret recipe for this braised pork?" Chen Yang was stunned, wondering why Old Master Yi would ask such a question. However, he still answered truthfully. Replying to Master Yi, "I learned this recipe from a chef's online tutorial video. However, after comparing the recipes in other instructional videos, I made some modifications based on my own taste." "Does this taste bad?" Grandpa Yi looked shocked. He never expected that the braised pork recipe was actually something Chen Yang had created by combining recipes taught by online chefs, and then modifying them himself. Genius, Chen Yang is simply a genius, one in a million. You need to know, even top chefs who prepare dishes for state banquets may not be able to replicate the braised pork recipe after years of research and improvement. As a result, it was Chen Yang, an outsider who had not received systematic training in cooking, who managed to create it. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Old Master Yi would have thought it was a fantasy. Delicious, this braised pork tastes amazing. It tastes exactly like the one my old logistics squad leader used to make when I was in the combat unit. I haven't tasted this flavor in decades. As Mr. Yi spoke, his eyes reddened and his voice choked with emotion. It's obvious. The taste of Chen Yang's braised pork reminded Grandpa Yi of the past. I just came up with this on my own, as long as Mr. Yi likes it. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang smiled and said, "You're such a talented child. She can play chess, she knows tea ceremony, and I didn't expect she could even cook. Zioa made the right choice in choosing you as her boyfriend." Grandpa Yi couldn't help but sigh. His granddaughter really had good taste in men, putting aside family background and social standing. Whether in terms of appearance or ability, Chen Yang is an outstanding person among his peers. He and his granddaughter look quite well matched. Upon hearing Grandpa Yi say those words, Chen Yang smiled and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that Old Master Yi has passed this test for now. After the meal, Chen Yang was taken to Yi Qingye's boudoir. The room was fairly spacious, with purple walls and posters and figurines hanging on the walls. A soft, large bed is paired with a high-end computer desk, and a dressing table is placed next to it. It looks like it exudes a youthful vibe. To be honest, this was the first time Chen Yang had ever entered a girl's room in his entire life. Out of curiosity, I took a few more glances. Judging from the furnishings and decorations, Yi Qingya's upbringing was indeed very privileged. At least, it aligns with his vision of raising his family's daughter in luxury. Chen Yang, thank you for your hard work. Fortunately, my grandparents didn't make things too difficult for you. Yi Qingya took Chen Yang's arm, and the two sat on the edge of the bed. She rested her head lightly on Chen Yang's shoulder and said in a cheerful voice, "To be honest, your grandparents are quite open-minded. If it were a more feudal family, they might ask me to leave after they knew about my family background. Or they'll use all sorts of words to suppress me. But they didn't. Instead, they gave me a chance to prove myself. Fortunately, I didn't mess things up." Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, "I've said it before, you're so outstanding. My grandparents will definitely like you. I'll go talk to them again tonight. I think they will definitely agree to our engagement." A happy smile appeared on Yi Qingya's face. Chen Yang nodded. Then he said to Yi Qingya, "Kyoto is your territory now. You have to take me around this afternoon. Also, Aunt Wen mentioned Pan Garden. Is there a lot of antiques and treasures to buy there? Then we'll go there and take a look, and pick out a birthday present for your grandfather while we're there." Upon hearing this, Yi Qingya smiled and replied, "No problem." While Yi Qingya was taking a lunch break, Chen Yang specifically searched for many videos on antique appraisal and introductory analysis on his laptop. By reading extensively and learning techniques for distinguishing genuine from fake, one can enrich their knowledge of antiques and treasures. With his extraordinary brain and photographic memory, Chen Yang's learning ability is terrifyingly powerful. Host detected learning how to appraise antiques, calligraphy, paintings, and treasures through videos. Antiques proficiency plus 1000. Antique appraisal skills upgraded to beginner level. Basic antique appraisal 05000. Soon, Chen Yang activated his antique appraisal skill and successfully advanced to the beginner level. The next moment, in Chen Yang's mind, a flood of memories about appraisal techniques and basic common sense regarding antiques, calligraphy and paintings, and various treasures came to mind. Then it was absorbed and digested by Chen Yang. Ultimately, it was transformed into his own ability. Of course, this is far from enough for Chen Yang. He was like a sponge, frantically absorbing all available knowledge to continuously strengthen himself. Host detected to be systematically learning antique appraisal, proficiency plus 200. Host detected to be systematically learning antique appraisal, proficiency plus 200. 3 p.m. Yi Qingya had a good night's sleep. When she woke up, she found Chen Yang frantically studying antiques, and a smile involuntarily crept onto her lips. "Chen Yang, last-minute cramming might not be effective in this area. You should know that the antique business has an extremely high barrier to entry. Without sufficient expertise and a solid theoretical foundation, it is very difficult to find genuine articles among a large number of fakes. Most people often spend a lot of money, but end up only buying counterfeit products, paying tuition fees for nothing. Among the people I know, even the real masters of antique appraisal have made mistakes. Therefore, this industry is very complex, with all sorts of fakes and forgeries, making it difficult to guard against them. It's best for laymen not to get involved easily, otherwise they'll easily be taken advantage of." Chapter 186, Pan Garden, Treasure Pavilion. Chen Yang wholeheartedly agreed with Yi Qingya's words. If he hadn't activated the system, he certainly wouldn't have dared to dream of becoming an expert in the antique industry through online video tutorials. But at this moment, he continuously absorbed knowledge about antique appraisal, and his proficiency grew at a visible rate. However, it's not easy to tell Yi Qingya the truth about this outcome. "Don't worry, I'm just looking around. After all, you're just idling around anyway, so learning more things can't be a bad thing." Chen Yang smiled slightly and changed the subject. "Okay, I'll go wash my face first. Once I'm all ready, we'll head out." After Yi Qingya finished speaking, he bent down and kissed Chen Yang's right cheek. Before he could react, she walked gracefully toward the restroom. Chen Yang was slightly stunned, but the smile on his face became even brighter the next second. He was already used to Yi Qingya's daily sneak attacks. After all, he is a handsome man with outstanding looks. It's perfectly normal for Yi Qingya to be tempted and want to take advantage of the situation. Chen Yang looked away and focused his attention on the laptop screen. Host detected to be learning antique appraisal, Proficiency plus 200. Elementary level antique appraisal, 2005-000. In the blink of an eye, my proficiency has improved again. However, it is clearly still quite far from being considered advanced. Seeing this, Chen Yang simply gave up. 15 minutes later, Yiqingya quickly touched up her makeup, changed into more casual clothes, and then took Chen Yang's hand and walked downstairs. After greeting Grandpa Yi and Grandma Yi, he asked Uncle Tang to drive him and Chen Yang out. The van first arrived at a large shopping mall nearby. Chen Yang and Yiqingya went for a walk and bought some supplements and nutritional products for their grandparents. They lacked nothing else, so after thinking it over again, Yiqingya decided not to let Chen Yang spend any money. Afterwards, Tang Long drove Chen Yang and Yiqingya to Pan Garden. Pan Garden in Kyoto is known as a holy land for antiques. There are many time-honored shops here that have been in business for decades, and a large number of antique dealers gather here. Walking into the street, the scene is quite spectacular. Come on, I'll take you to an old antique shop. I heard from my elders that the shop has been in Kyoto for decades. It not only has a guaranteed reputation, but also often has customers from all over the country who come to the shop to help appraise treasures and sell antiques. If I'm lucky, I might even meet my dream girl. Yiqingya affectionately wrapped her arm around Chen Yang's and whispered to him, "Okay, whatever you say." Upon hearing this, Chen Yang readily agreed. This was the first time he had ever been to Pan Garden in Kyoto. I felt both unfamiliar and curious about everything in front of me. I came here with Yiqingya to broaden my horizons. The two passed by countless vendors and walked for more than 10 minutes. Finally, Chen Yang and Yiqingya arrived at a shop called Beibiage. Stepping into the hall, the interior decoration and layout immediately evoke a sense of history, exuding both antiquity and luxury. At this time, an elderly man with graying temples, dressed in a Tang suit, was standing in front of the counter. Standing in front of him was a middle-aged man holding an old wooden box. The box was made of black wood, and the patterns and craftsmanship carved on it were clearly the work of a master. The middle-aged man carefully opened the wooden box, revealing the treasure inside. A pair of gilded phoenix hairpins, handcrafted using traditional techniques. "Mr. Li, this is an heirloom from my family. Could you please give me an estimate? If the price is right, I'll sell it directly on the treasure pavilion." The middle-aged man looked at the old man with a smile and said. Old Li reached out and took the wooden box from the middle-aged man, then took out the pair of gilded phoenix hairpins and examined them carefully. After a long pause, Old Li slowly said, "This is a Ming Dynasty jade inlaid and gilded phoenix hairpin. It is exquisitely crafted, elegant yet luxurious and well-preserved. The eyes and the gaps between the feathers of the phoenix are inlaid with Hessian white jade, which is warm and lustrous, forming a classic gold-inlaid jade combination with the gilding. The phoenix crest feathers adopt the three-layer overlapping technique commonly used in the Ming Dynasty, and the tail feathers are slightly curled at the end, restoring the expansive tail feathers and dignified expression of the phoenix in the Ming Dynasty. 2 years ago, a pair of similar phoenix hairpins sold for 2.8 million at Jiasheng Auction House. Your pair of hairpins are better in terms of both preservation and craftsmanship. I estimate they could sell for around 3 million. Mr. Zheng, if you find this price acceptable, then we can proceed with the transaction now." These words were spoken. Mr. Zheng's face clearly showed joy. He looked at Mr. Li with excitement and said, "Okay, this price is fine. Please transfer the money to my bank card." As he spoke, Mr. Zheng took out his wallet and then pulled out a bank card from it, handing it to Mr. Li. After confirming the authenticity of the pair of phoenix hairpins several times, Old Li put the hairpins into a wooden box and then asked the finance department to transfer the money. Shortly after, Mr. Zheng received a bank SMS notification that the money had been deposited into his account. "Mr. Li, I have received the money. If I have other treasures to sell later, I'll come back." After saying that, Mr. Zheng then turned around and strode out of the treasure pavilion. Chen Yang, who witnessed this scene, saw a virtual light screen appear before his eyes, and at the same time a system notification sounded. Host detected observing antique appraisal expert Li Shan on site, appraising antiques. Antique appraisal proficiency doubled, critical hit plus 2000. Basic antique appraisal, 400500. As his proficiency increased dramatically, Chen Yang found that his ability to appraise antiques was also improving significantly. He's just one step away from breaking through to the advanced level. Miss Yi, what brings you to the Hundred Treasures Pavilion all of a sudden? After Mr. Li carefully put the treasure away. Looking towards the hall, he spotted Chen Yang and Yi Qingye. The next moment, he walked up to Yi Qingye warmly and said in a respectful tone. Clearly, old Li recognized Yi Qingye and knew her true identity. Otherwise, he would never have acted this way. My grandfather's birthday is tomorrow, so I brought my boyfriend here to look around and wanted to buy him a decent gift. Does Elder Li have any treasures he could recommend? Yi Qingye had a close relationship with Mr. Li, so when we started chatting, we didn't seem so awkward. If I remember correctly, Mr. Yi was quite fond of collecting treasures such as calligraphy and paintings. As it happens, a distinguished guest recently entrusted our Beibao Pavilion to help sell an authentic work by Qi Beishi. If Miss Yi is interested, why don't you come to the inner hall? I'll have someone bring the painting out so you can take a look. Old Li pondered for a while. Suddenly, something caught my eye, as if I remembered something extremely important. Then he spoke to Yi Qingye. Chapter 187. Expert Li, Qi Beishi's authentic peach blossoms for longevity. Beibiage has a wide range of businesses. In addition to appraising antiques and treasures and acquiring valuable items from customers, we also offer consignment services for VIP clients. Of course, this service is chargeable. Guests often increase the likelihood of a sale by relying on Beibiage's reputation and network built up over many years. Over time, antique enthusiasts would visit Beibiage from time to time, and if they were lucky, they could find their favorite treasures there. This is no secret in the industry. Upon hearing Elder Li's words, Yi Qingye's eyes lit up, and she quickly said, "It's better to arrive at the right time than to arrive early. Then we'll trouble you, Elder Li, to take us there for a visit." When old Li saw that Yi Qingye readily agreed, a smile appeared on his face. Yi Qingye is the daughter of the Yi family and has a noble status. With Grandpa Yi's birthday approaching, she wants to choose a gift for him to express her filial piety. And Beibiage just happens to have something that Old Master Yi likes right now. So in Old Master Li's eyes, Yi Qingye is undoubtedly a high-quality customer. If the treasure can satisfy Yi Qingye, the probability of a successful transaction will greatly increase. Once the treasure is sold, Mr. Li will receive a bonus. Thinking of this, old Li became even more enthusiastic. Soon, led by Elder Li, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye arrived at the inner hall. "Miss Yi, please sit here and wait a moment. I'll be right back." After saying this, old Li turned and walked towards the door. A few minutes later, Mr. Li held an exquisitely crafted brocade box in both hands, followed by a staff member. The other party placed the brewed tea in front of Yi Qingye and Chen Yang, then bowed slightly and left the room. Old Li then placed the brocade box on a large wooden table. Immediately afterwards, Mr. Li opened the brocade box, took out a painting, and carefully unfolded it. "Miss Yi, this is the genuine Qi Beishi painting, Peach Blossoms Celebrating Longevity, which our esteemed guest entrusted to our treasure pavilion for sale. With Grandpa Yi's birthday approaching, this painting is undoubtedly the best gift for you." With a smile on his face, old Li looked at Yi Qingye and said. Yi Qingye's gaze fell on the painting, and she examined it carefully. The brushstrokes are lively, the ink is applied evenly, and the branches are strong and vigorous. One look and you know it's the work of a master. Although Yi Qingye is not an expert in the antique industry, she still has some understanding of this field and possesses some identification skills. Secondly, she trusted Beibiage's reputation and knew they would never dare to deceive her with counterfeit goods. "Mr. Li, I wonder what the seller's asking price is for this painting, Peach Blossoms Celebrating Longevity." Yi Qingye was very interested and planned to buy the painting and give it to her grandfather as a birthday gift. Therefore, she hesitated for only a moment before immediately asking old Li. "Ms. Yi, you're a long-time customer of our Beibiage, so I'll just be frank with you. The seller's asking price is 7.5 million, and the lowest price cannot be lower than 7.3 million. Old Li smiled kindly and said, "Is this price too expensive compared to the market price?" Yi Qingye's face showed surprise, clearly taken aback by the price. She originally thought the painting would only cost 1 or 2 million. With her savings, buying it wouldn't be a big problem if she gritted her teeth and bought it. But when Yi Qingye learned that the painting cost more than 7 million, she suddenly realized that she couldn't afford it at all. Absolutely not. Master Qi Beishi's original works have always had great collection value in the antique industry. If you encounter a generous buyer, let alone 7.5 million, even 8 million would be worth it. My esteemed guest would not have put this painting up for sale if he hadn't run into some business problems and needed to raise funds. Originally, our Babayage wanted to buy it. However, because the seller sold too many treasures at once, Babayage was short of funds, so we had no choice but to put it up for sale. This painting is undoubtedly genuine, Miss Yi, so there is no need to worry too much. Old Li explained with a smile. Yi Qingye nodded slightly. She genuinely liked it. But alas, I was short of money. Left with no other choice, Yi Qingye walked to Chen Yang's side, took his arm, and said softly, "Chen Yang, what do you think of this painting? Peach Blossoms for Longevity. If I buy it and give it to my grandfather as a birthday gift, I think he will be very happy. But this price is really not cheap. I only have a little over 2 million in my bank account, which is less than half the price of this painting." After listening, Chen Yang smiled faintly and said calmly, "Money is not a problem as long as you like it. You know my investment capabilities. It's just a few million. I can earn it back very quickly." Yi Qingye smiled gently. "We're not even engaged yet, and you're already spending so much money on me. It's putting a lot of pressure on me. But to be honest, I really like the way you spend money on me. So handsome, so charming." Chen Yang's smile became even more pronounced. "I'm happy to see you so happy. I'll buy this painting. It's my birthday gift to Mr. Yi. As the old saying goes, you can't catch a wolf without risking your cub." In order to gain the approval of Grandpa Yi, and even more so to get Grandpa Yi to agree to his engagement with Yi Qingye, Chen Yang could afford to buy just a single antique painting or calligraphy. Before that, however, he needs to take a good look at this Qi Beishi painting, which is worth 7.5 million yuan, to see if it is real or fake. Chen Yang stepped forward, his gaze lingering intently on the immortal peach celebrating longevity painting. Host detected identifying Qi Beishi's Peach Blossoms for Longevity painting. Antique Appraisal Experience plus 1000. Antique Appraisal has been upgraded from Basic to Advanced. Advanced Antique Appraisal 010000. The next moment, a virtual light screen appeared before Chen Yang's eyes, displaying his skill level and experience bar. At the same time, a surge of advanced techniques for identifying antiques and treasures, as well as even more profound knowledge, also came to mind. After being digested and absorbed, it is eventually transformed into his own skills. Chen Yang could clearly feel that he had suddenly gained 20 years of experience in identifying genuine antiques. With just one glance, one can roughly discern the origin and authenticity of the item. Moreover, its accuracy exceeds 90%. Chen Yang looked at Qi Beishi's Peach Blossoms for Longevity again and quickly noticed a flaw. The more they studied it, the more they discovered that there was something fishy about the painting. His brows furrowed slightly, and his expression instantly darkened. "Old Li, you just said that Babayage has already authenticated this painting, Peach Blossoms for Longevity, and it is a genuine work. Is this statement true?" Chen Yang raised his eyes, his sharp gaze sweeping over Old Li, and questioned him sternly. "Certainly. I have personally authenticated this painting, and it is indeed an original. I, Li Shan, guarantee my reputation built up over the years, and I will take full responsibility for my words." Old Li was puzzled as to why Chen Yang would ask such a question. However, he still patted his chest and said with great confidence, Chapter 188, a glance at the authenticity. Old Master Li's gift of the painting has a deeper meaning. Chen Yang, what happened? Seeing the tense atmosphere, Yi Qingye noticed that the situation had suddenly become very hostile. She gently tugged at Chen Yang's arm and asked in a voice only the two of them could hear. "This painting, Peach Blossoms for Longevity, is a flawed piece, but Babayage is selling them at the price of genuine products. Isn't that blatantly taking advantage of you as an outsider?" Chen Yang explained to Yi Qingye in a low voice. "What, you mean to say this painting is a fake? Impossible. Old Li is a renowned expert at Babayage Antique Appraisal Center, quite famous in the antique industry. How could he dare to try and fool me with a fake? If this gets out, how will he ever have the face to show in the Kyoto Antique Circle again?" Yi Qingye's eyes flashed with surprise, and she said in disbelief. Immediately afterwards, Yi Qingye couldn't help but press Chen Yang for an answer. "Also, how did you know this painting was fake? Aren't you a complete novice when it comes to antiques?" Chen Yang said calmly, "Unfortunately, I just happen to be cramming on my knowledge of antiques. Among them is an appreciation of the works of Master Qi Beishi. Based on my observation just now, this painting, Peach Blossoms for Longevity, is indeed by the Master Qi Beishi, but it is a flawed piece. To put it simply, it's like the original artwork being split in two. A painting is divided into two layers by a professional mounting master using a special technique. And this one in front of us is the lower level. The ink is more intense, and the brushstrokes are more vigorous and powerful. You can see it from here and from some of the details. Chen Yang pointed to several parts of the painting. Upon hearing this, Old Li immediately took out a magnifying glass and examined the area Chen Yang was pointing to again. Before long, his face turned deathly pale. He had personally authenticated it before, and there was no doubt that the painting was genuine. How did it become a defective product now? This left Mr. Li completely baffled. "May I ask your name, young friend?" Old Li looked at Chen Yang with admiration and asked. "Chen Yang, Chen in the east of the ear, Yang in the sun." Chen Yang replied calmly. "Young friend Chen, may I ask what you do for a living? You possess such a high level of expertise in antique appraisal. Who is your teacher?" Old Li couldn't help but press for more information. "Mr. Li, I am just a student. As for my lineage, I have no school or lineage. I just have some interest in antique appraisal and have read some books and watched some videos. It just so happens that I have some knowledge of Master Qi Beishi's works." Chen Yang shrugged and said casually, "Young Master Chen is self-taught and has amazing talent, which is truly admirable. There's a question that's been bothering me. Could you perhaps help me find the answer, young friend Chen?" After learning about Chen Yang's background, Old Li's expression was filled with shock. After a long while, he gradually came to his senses and asked Chen Yang with a respectful expression, "You want to ask me how I could tell this painting was flawed? Or perhaps it was clearly identified as genuine when it was authenticated, but how did it become a flawed item when it came to us?" Chen Yang smiled and said. Old Li nodded decisively. "That's right. Please inform me, young friend Chen. Li Shan would be extremely grateful." Seeing the curiosity on Old Li's face, his thirst for knowledge reached its peak. Chen Yang didn't hide anything and readily explained. "It's very simple. When you were appraising this painting, a special solution was applied to its surface. As time goes on, the potion will evaporate into the air. Eventually, the original form of the painting will be revealed. Secondly, because it is a genuine work that has been split in two, most people simply cannot tell the difference without sufficient expertise. The seller used this method to fool you. If you break a painting down into two parts and sell them, wouldn't the price and profit double?" Upon hearing this, Old Li suddenly realized, "I see. Fortunately, this painting, Peach Blossoms for Longevity, was not sold beforehand. Otherwise, if it had been discovered, it would have ruined the reputation that my babayage had painstakingly built up over decades. At the same time, I would also like to thank Chen Xiaoshan for his kind reminder." At this moment, Old Li looked at Chen Yang with more respect. After all, he is so young, yet he has such a high level of expertise in the field of antiques, which is simply awe-inspiring. Old Li, since this Peach Blossom Celebrating Longevity painting is a flawed piece, it naturally cannot be sold at the price of a genuine piece. In that case, I'm willing to offer 3.5 million for this painting. I wonder if Mr. Li can make that decision. In Chen Yang's view, although this painting is flawed, it still has some collectible value. Most importantly, it happened to be Mr. Yi's birthday, making the meaning of this painting perfectly fitting. Since young friend Chen has taken the initiative to speak, I naturally cannot refuse. In this way, to thank young friend Chen for pointing out our mistakes and protecting our reputation, we will. I've decided to give you this Peach Blossoms for Longevity painting. I won't accept a single penny. Consider it an apology for offending my friend Chen earlier." Old Li's eyes flickered. In just a moment, he made this bold decision. Even if the Peach Blossoms for Longevity painting is flawed, it's still worth several million. But in order to befriend Chen Yang, he gave away the painting without hesitation. This shows just how amazing his courage is. Yi Qingye was deeply shocked by Old Li's grand gesture. "You need to know, this is not a cheap item worth a few thousand or tens of thousands, but an antique treasure worth at least several million." Not only did Old Li refuse to accept the money, he also offered it to Chen Yang for free. Such generosity completely overturned Yi Qingye's perception. Although it seemed like Mr. Li was at a disadvantage, he had his own ulterior motives. The fact that Chen Yang could immediately tell that this Peach Blossoms for Longevity painting was flawed demonstrates his exceptional skill in antique appraisal. Within the industry, a young appraisal master like Chen Yang is extremely rare. If you can befriend him, this friendship is far more valuable than millions. After all, true masters of antique appraisal possess extraordinary eyesight and appraisal skills, so they would never lack money. When faced with treasures that are difficult to identify, some antique collectors and antique masters will eventually hire well-known appraisal masters to examine them. At this point, personal connections and money are usually needed to support the effort. Having more friends means having more options. In this industry, no one can guarantee that they won't have to ask someone for help one day. At this moment, Mr. Li is essentially making an early investment in Chen Yang. Who knows when Chen Yang might get into trouble? Chen Yang also realized the intention behind Li Lao's move. Mr. Li, I thank you in advance for your kindness. But one thing is one thing, and they should not be confused. I'm accompanying my girlfriend back to Kyoto to celebrate Mr. Yi's birthday. Afterwards, I have to return to Shanghai, so if you need any help from me later, I might not be able to assist you in time. Chen Yang gently shook his head, politely declining old Li's kind offer. He then proactively explained the reasons behind it. Chapter 189. Elder Li sincerely invites you to become an appraisal consultant for the Treasure Pavilion. Upon hearing Chen Yang's words, old Li was first taken aback, and then couldn't help but burst out laughing. Young friend Chen, please don't be in such a hurry to refuse. I have personally witnessed your expertise in appraising treasures. The antique industry is very complex. If you are not careful, you can lose hundreds of millions of dollars in a single mistake, or even more serious losses. At this time, you need the help of others. Most of the appraisal masters in Kyoto are recruited by various powerful forces. Because they are all in competition with each other, they often cannot discuss things with each other. Young friend Chen is exceptionally talented, yet his ambitions lie elsewhere. If you are willing, on behalf of Babiage, I would like to invite you to become our store's special consultant. You can go about your own business on weekdays, and just help us appraise some more valuable treasures when we need them. For this reason, you can enjoy many privileges at our Babiage. For example, priority in purchasing internal antique treasures, the extensive network of contacts that Babiage has cultivated over many years, and generous annual salary benefits. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang was momentarily tempted. It wasn't about the money, but rather the network of connections that Babiage had built up over many years in Kyoto. It's no exaggeration to say that. Those connections that Babiage can carefully maintain must be either rich or noble. Chen Yang can earn the money himself. However, personal connections cannot be created out of thin air without a certain amount of time for cultivation and accumulation. And this is precisely what Chen Yang currently lacks most. Old Li, you trust me that much. What if I just got lucky and stumbled upon this by sheer chance? You went to so much trouble to recruit me into the Treasure Pavilion, only to have it all come to nothing. Chen Yang asked with a smile. No, you're not that kind of person. Because there is no room for speculation or trickery in antique appraisal. You either understand or you don't understand. It's not something you can fool with luck or a blind cat stumbling upon a dead mouse. Besides, I believe I can't possibly misjudge people. Old Li spoke with absolute certainty and full of confidence. In that case, I thank you for your appreciation, Elder Li. I'd like to accept your invitation. Chen Yang wasn't the kind of person who was tactless. Faced with Mr. Li's sincere invitation, he thought it over and over again, and finally decided to accept his proposal. After all, for him, this was absolutely a win-win situation. The antique world is full of hidden bigwigs from all walks of life. Entering this industry might bring Chen Yang more unexpected resources. Not to mention, Chen Yang's antique appraisal skills have reached an advanced level, and appraising treasures is not a big challenge for him. While using it as a side hustle for leisure, you can also build up your network of contacts. Why not? Good, with young friend Chen joining the 100 Treasures Pavilion. It's like adding wings to a tiger. This is my business card. Please feel free to contact me if you need anything. Old Li looked excited. Immediately, he took out a specially made business card and stuffed it directly into Chen Yang's hand. She also proactively asked Chen Yang for his contact information. 15 minutes later, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye took away several antique treasures from the Treasure Pavilion without spending a penny. Yi Qingye, in particular, seemed like a dream. No, something's not right. Chen Yang, didn't you tell me before that you didn't know anything about antiques? How could someone suddenly become an appraisal master after only a last-minute cramming session and learning some basic knowledge about antique appraisal, and even be specially invited by Mr. Li to be an appraisal consultant for Babiage? Do you think this is reasonable? Yi Qingye looked at Chen Yang in disbelief and said, "There's no way around it. Exceptional talent, that's just how amazing it is. Professions that are difficult for others to enter are no problem for me." Chen Yang looked proud. She has an amazing talent for learning, and that's just how she is. Of course, he knew very well that all of this was thanks to the power of the system. But that didn't stop him from showing off in front of Yi Qingye. And you know what? This feeling made him feel incredibly comfortable from head to toe. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye shook her head helplessly. Sometimes she really wanted to pry open Chen Yang's head to see what was inside. Why is it that he learns things so quickly, even though they are both human? Moreover, it seems there are no bottlenecks at all. From beginner to expert, it may take others a long time and a lot of effort to get through this process. However, Chen Yang mastered it with ease. Could it be that Chen Yang is truly a once-in-a-million genius? Such an incredible talent for learning can be applied to various professions. Could he become a top elite in any field if he wanted to? If that's really the case, Yi Qingye doesn't even dare to imagine what heights Chen Yang will reach in the future. Night falls and the city lights come on. Return from the Beibao Pavilion to the Yi family compound. Throughout the journey, Yi Qingye remained immersed in Chen Yang's terrifying learning talent. Finally, they returned to the Yi family home. Inside the lobby, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye walked in. They found Mr. and Mrs. Yi sitting on the sofa watching TV. "Zioya Chenyang, where did you go this afternoon?" Grandma Yi asked with a kind face and a gentle voice. "Grandma, we just strolled around for a bit, and then we went to buy some nutritional supplements for you and Grandpa. After that, I went to Panyuan Antique Street to hunt for treasures. We were quite lucky to find a work by Master Qi Beishi at the Beibao Pavilion. We thought Grandpa would like it, so we decided to buy it. But the painting was too expensive. Yet Chen Yang still bought it without hesitation and gave it to his grandfather. I thought the transaction would go smoothly, but Chen Yang was surprised to find that the painting was a defective item. It was a professional mounting master who used a special technique to divide the original work in two, intending to sell it as one piece of art twice. After Chen Yang recognized the painting at a glance, old Li, to thank Chen Yang, gave him the painting voluntarily without accepting any money. At the same time, he also sincerely invited Chen Yang to become an appraisal consultant for Beibaoj. Not only did we not spend much money, but we also got several treasures from the treasure pavilion. Grandma noticed that she was curious about where they were going that afternoon. Yi Qingye then made no attempt to conceal anything and truthfully described what had happened. She made no embellishments or exaggerations. Everything was based on the facts. However, her words shocked Mr. Yi and Mrs. Yi immensely. "Chen Yang, you also have expertise in antiques and calligraphy." Grandpa Yi squinted and asked incredulously. Replying to Professor Yi, "I simply read some relevant books and watched some analysis videos on my own. Plus, I have a good memory and can learn things quickly. I wouldn't say I'm a complete expert, but I do know a little bit about it." Chen Yang dared not speak too confidently, lest he leave old Master Yi with the impression of being stubborn and arrogant. Therefore, he left himself some room for maneuver in his words. Young people today like to pursue new things and trendy new styles. Very few of them like to study old objects, antiques, calligraphy, and paintings. It's truly rare to find someone with such a hobby. The more Grandpa Yi looked at Chen Yang, the more satisfied he became. This young man is neither arrogant nor impatient, and he has a great sense of propriety in his words and actions. He is outstanding in appearance, exceptionally talented, of good character, and comes from a respectable family. The most crucial point is, he had a relationship with his beloved granddaughter and had a child with her. These factors combined, Chen Yang is certainly qualified to become the Yi family's son-in-law. Chapter 190, helping old Master Yi evaluate his eyes. The bet terms. It happened in the afternoon. Grandma Yi has already told Grandpa Yi the truth about Yi Qingye's pregnancy. At the same time, he also relayed to him in detail the attitudes of Yi Zhenghua and Wen Jai towards Chen Yang. Seeing that things had developed to this point, although Grandpa Yi was shocked when he thought about his beloved granddaughter's attitude towards Chen Yang, he knew that she genuinely liked him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have risked being scolded by herself to insist on taking Chen Yang back to Kyoto. At the same time, they also tried their best to let Chen Yang perform in front of Grandpa Yi and show off his talent and ability. All of this was done to leave a good impression on old Master Yi. Ultimately, they agreed to her engagement to Chen Yang. However, on the other hand, Chen Yang is indeed very outstanding. He can even be considered one of the best young people that Grandpa Yi has ever seen. Based on this, and with Grandma Yi constantly praising her, after careful consideration, Mr. Yi felt that this marriage seemed quite good. After all, Chen Yang is outstanding in every aspect. Even if his family background is not good, with his abilities and the support of the Yi family's resources, he will definitely grow up in the near future and become someone who can stand on his own. At that time, perhaps as Chen Yang said, he will have the strength to give back to the Yi family and become their strong support. Upon hearing Grandpa Yi's praise, Chen Yang's face immediately lit up with joy. "You flatter me, Elder Yi." As he spoke, he immediately took out the Peach Blossoms for Longevity painting, a genuine work by Qi Beishi, and handed it to Old Master Yi. "Mr. Yi, this is a birthday gift I specially chose for you. I hope you like it." Grandpa Yi's eyes lit up immediately. Immediately, he opened the brocade box, took out the Peach Blossom celebrating longevity painting with light movements, laid it flat on the spacious table, and began to admire it carefully. The ink is rich and vibrant, and the brushstrokes are vigorous and powerful. This is clearly the work of Qi Beishi. "Chen Yang, this painting must be worth a lot of money, right?" A moment later, Grandpa Yi looked up at Chen Yang and asked, "Because it's a defective product, the market price is at most 3.5 million. Because I helped Mr. Li uncover the truth about this painting and salvage the reputation of Babayage, he gave it to me. He also gifted me several valuable antique treasures." Chen Yang smiled slightly and explained, "In that case, your appraisal skills must be quite good. Otherwise, given Li Shan's personality, he would never have given you these treasures so easily." Old Master Yi said with a serious expression. "Grandpa, you're right." Chen Yang was at the scene at the time. He only glanced at it casually and recognized that the Peach Blossom celebrating longevity painting was a flawed piece. But Mr. Li insisted that he had personally authenticated it and that it was definitely a genuine work. As a result, Chen Yang pointed out several key points which severely embarrassed him. In the end, they took the initiative to apologize and invited Chen Yang to become a treasure appraisal consultant for Babayage. In my opinion, Chen Yang's appraisal skills are far superior to that of old Li. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye replied with excitement, "Perfect timing. I've also collected quite a few treasures. Chen Yang, can you help me take a look and see if there are any fakes among these treasures?" Old Master Yi's eyes darted around. He then spoke to Chen Yang. "If Elder Yi doesn't mind, then of course I have no objection." Chen Yang smiled and nodded. "Okay, then come with me." The words were spoken. Grandpa Yi then put the painting away and placed it in a brocade box. He then got up and walked toward his storeroom. Chen Yang followed behind Grandpa Yi in tacit agreement. Soon they entered a spacious, secret room. There were many cabinets in the corner, on which antiques and treasures were displayed in various categories. There are antiques, calligraphy and paintings, brushes, calligraphy copybooks, Buddhist scriptures, porcelain vases, etc. It's dazzling to look at. Chen Yang, feel free to look around and see if there are any problems with these treasures." Grandpa Yi smiled and said to Chen Yang, Chen Yang nodded. Immediately afterwards, his gaze and attention fell on the cabinet. Host detected appraising antiques and treasures, proficiency plus 500. Advanced antique appraisal, 501,000. One after another, Chen Yang watched very quickly, changing his view almost every 10 seconds. About 10 minutes later, he examined all the antiques in the collection room. At this moment, Chen Yang looked up at Old Master Yi and replied respectfully, "Old Master Yi, the calligraphy, paintings, calligraphy books, brushes, and antiques in your collection room are all genuine. The most valuable of these is Tang Bohu's Chang Flying to the Moon, which is currently valued at 300 million yuan. Chen Yifei's masterpiece, Duet, is the next best, with a market value of 46 million. Some wolf hair brushes and calligraphy copybooks are also of considerable value. I must say, your taste and the variety of your collection are outstanding, which has broadened my horizons considerably." These words were spoken. The way Old Master Yi looked at Chen Yang clearly showed more approval from someone who shared his values. After a long pause, he chuckled and said, "Well said. Looks like you're actually quite capable, kid." After spending some time in the collection room, the two returned to the hall and found themselves getting along very well. This scene, both Yi Qingye and Grandma Yi were stunned. "Qingye, your boyfriend has really high emotional intelligence. It hasn't been long, and look how happy your grandpa is. If it weren't for your relationship with him, you might have treated him as a close friend despite the age gap." Grandma Yi smiled and couldn't help but say something. Grandma, I told you long ago that Chen Yang is so outstanding. He will definitely be able to gain Grandpa's approval. Yi Qingya looked proud. Night, Chen Yang once again showcased his culinary skills, preparing a table full of his signature dishes. Knife skills proficiency plus 500. Cooking skills proficiency plus 500. Advanced knife skills, 4,500 Advanced culinary skills, 4,500 Only then did Grandpa Yi and Grandma Yi truly taste what real delicacies are like. In the eyes of the two elders, Chen Yang's culinary skills were already comparable to those of a state banquet chef. Mr. Yi and Mrs. Yi, who usually eat very little in the evening, couldn't resist and ate until they were stuffed. After the meal, Chen Yang was called into the study by Old Master Yi. The two sat facing each other. Grandpa Yi had a solemn expression and exuded an aura of righteousness. His eyes were serious as he said, "Chen Yang, Zioya's grandmother has told me about your relationship with her. Since the incident has already occurred, and you acted like a man, taking responsibility without shirking it, and gained the approval of Zioya's parents, then your engagement will not be opposed by me or her grandmother. However, I have one request, and I hope you can grant it." Upon hearing this, Chen Yang immediately sat up straight. "Mr. Yi, please speak. All talk and no action is useless. Since you're so confident in your abilities, would you dare to make a bet with me? If you can make a name for yourself in Shanghai within 2 years. At that time, the resources and connections of my Yi family will be fully open to you. On the contrary, if you cannot do that, I hope you can marry into our Yi family and abandon business for politics. Our Yi family will help you plan your future path. Do you dare to take this bet?" Grandpa Yi had a pair of tiger-like eyes that were bright and piercing. His words were firm and resolute, making Chen Yang feel an unprecedented seriousness. Chapter 191, A Perplexing Decision. Temporarily avoiding the edge. Experience still matters. Chen Yang was taken aback by the betting conditions proposed by Old Master Yi. However, he quickly regained his composure. His eyes filled with fighting spirit and confidence, and met Old Master Chen's gaze directly. "Mr. Yi, are you serious?" "Certainly. Although you are young, you are meticulous and composed. You are a rare gem. With a little polishing, you will surely achieve great things in the future. I think you should go into politics rather than business. With your talent and ability, and with the Yi family protecting you, you will definitely rise to the top. Given time, you may well achieve what your future father-in-law has. At the same time, you will be able to do more practical things for the people." Grandpa Yi nodded without hesitation. "In that case, I'll take the bet. I have confidence in my own abilities, so the outcome of this bet is destined to disappoint you." Chen Yang smiled calmly and replied confidently, "The political arena is rife with power struggles that occur without the smoke of battle. Under the rules, all sorts of intrigue and scheming occur. In contrast, Chen Yang prefers doing business. Because it's more free and unrestrained, power may be alluring, but it carries unseen risks. One wrong step and the whole game is lost. Even though Chen Yang has the Yi family as his backing, once he gets involved, he often finds himself unable to control his own destiny. That kind of life was clearly not what Chen Yang was looking for. Moreover, the Yi family has quite a few men. Resources might not even be enough for them, so Chen Yang, as their son-in-law, shouldn't get involved. His talent and ability are better showcased when he conducts business honestly. The weather is unpredictable. Whether the outcome is good or bad, who can say for sure? I'm just offering you another option. As for how you want to walk your own path in the future, that's ultimately up to you." Grandpa Yi smiled faintly and spoke earnestly. Old Master Yi's teachings are correct. Chen Yang did not refute, but replied humbly, "Chen Yang, tomorrow is my birthday. Many comrades and old friends will come to visit me with their younger family members. Some of them came to celebrate my birthday sincerely. Some wanted to get closer to the Yi family, and a small number were after Zioya through marriage. These people are all prominent figures in Kyoto, and they have intricate connections with my Yi family. They are not people you can afford to offend. So my idea is that you take Zioya back to Shanghai on the earliest flight tomorrow morning to avoid causing trouble for you. It's best to keep your relationship with Zioya a secret for now. Once you two are engaged and have the baby, those people will naturally give up their hopes. With the protection of the Yi family, they won't dare to do anything too outrageous to you openly, but they will inevitably resort to underhanded tactics. You'd better be mentally prepared for this." Grandpa Yi looked at Chen Yang and said softly, Mr. Yi, wouldn't this be inappropriate? Upon hearing this, Chen Yang's expression froze for a moment. Why isn't it appropriate? Remember this, cutting off someone's livelihood is like killing their parents. They are capable of anything for power and family interests. In an extreme case, once they find out about your relationship with Xiaoya, you've already been sentenced to death. They'll stop at nothing to get rid of you just to achieve their goal. I did this entirely for your own good. Old Master Yi looked at Chen Yang with a serious expression. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang's back was covered in cold sweat. Even though he possesses a system, his personal combat strength is not low. But in the face of truly powerful families, he was still as weak as an ant, with no power to protect himself. If the other party really wants to get rid of Chen Yang, they have plenty of ways and means. Officially stated, shady and clandestine. Never doubt the resources that these powerful families can mobilize. Old Master Yi was clearly aware of this, which is why he advised Chen Yang to temporarily avoid confrontation and stay away from the troublesome capital city. This approach is also the safest way to protect Chen Yang at present. I understand. I will follow your arrangements. Chen Yang took a deep breath. Then he nodded in agreement. The next morning, 6:30, the sun has not yet risen. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye had already packed their luggage, and urged by Old Master Yi, arrived at the gate of the Yi family compound. A black minivan had been waiting ahead for some time. Tang Long and a young guard stood ramrod straight on either side of the car. Xiaoya Chen Yang, I've already arranged your plane tickets. When you arrive in Shanghai, remember to call home to let them know you've arrived safely. Grandpa Yi held his hands protectively in front of him, looking at Chen Yang and Yi Qingye with gentle eyes, and patiently gave them his instructions. Grandpa, I've got it. Yi Qingye stepped forward and gave her grandparents a hug. Then, reluctantly, they got into the car. Mr. Yi, Mrs. Yi, please rest assured, I will definitely take good care of Qingye. We will come back to visit you too when we have time, Chen Yang said with a smile. Okay, go ahead. Grandpa Yi nodded and waved to Chen Yang. Chen Yang nodded and then got into the van. Tang Long, escort them to the airport and use your authority to erase any trace of their arrival in Kyoto, and try to prevent anyone from noticing. Old Master Yi glanced at Tang Long with a serious expression and gave him instructions. Yes, sir. Tang Long stood with his legs together, assuming an attention posture, and raised his hand to give a military salute to Grandpa Yi. He answered in a loud voice without hesitation. Not long after, the van then drove out of the compound and headed towards Kyoto Airport. On the bus, Yi Qingye looked bewildered. She couldn't understand why her grandfather would suddenly make the decision to have her, and Chen Yang returned to Shanghai as soon as possible. You know, today is Grandpa's birthday. At such an important moment, neither of them was present. This is completely contrary to their original purpose of returning to Kyoto. Seeing Yi Qingye's depressed expression, Chen Yang immediately took the initiative to explain to her. When she learned of her grandfather's good intentions, her bitterness vanished instantly. All that remains is gratitude and relief. Sure enough, experience is the best teacher. Grandpa's decisions were never without reason. There was always a deeper meaning behind them. If it weren't for her grandfather's reminder, Yi Qingye probably wouldn't have expected that she would soon be facing a marriage-urging drama from her elders. Even more frightening is that it would directly push Chen Yang into the open, making him a thorn in the side of those families who wanted to form a marriage alliance with her. At that time, Chen Yang will inevitably suffer various forms of retaliation and targeting from them. Yi Qingye could not imagine how dangerous Chen Yang's situation would become. Fortunately, Grandpa's timely reminder prevented this situation from happening. Having an elder in the family is like having a treasure. That's absolutely true. Chapter 192. Tang Long is ordered to take action and returns to Shanghai. An hour later, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye arrived at Kyoto Airport and used a special green channel. They were escorted by a dedicated person in charge and eventually boarded the plane to sit in the front seats of the first class. Tang Long did not leave immediately. He still had to carry out Old Master Chen's orders. He arrived at the airport command center and found the person in charge on site. Without any unnecessary words, he took out his military officer's ID card from his pocket and handed it to the person in charge. I am a bodyguard for the commander, belonging to a special operations classified unit. This is my identification. I need you to immediately use your privileges to delete the boarding records and related surveillance videos of 2 passengers whose identities require high confidentiality. Tang Long cut to the chase, addressing the person in charge at the scene. The person in charge at the scene took Tang Long's military officer's certificate, opened it, and was immediately shocked by the information on it. It took several seconds for him to come to his senses. The look in his eyes when he looked at Tang Long again was filled with utmost awe. "Please rest assured, sir, our airport command center is willing to fully cooperate." The person in charge at the scene replied respectfully and firmly. After, Tang Long reported Chen Yang and Yi Qingya's names to the person in charge. The person in charge immediately ordered his staff to use their back-end privileges to erase all traces of them. After confirming that everything was correct, Tang Long looked at the people in the command center. "Remember, no one is allowed to spy on the whereabouts of these two. If I find out, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Also, what happened here today must be kept secret. Anyone who violates this rule will face the consequences." After saying that, before anyone could react, Tang Long had already turned and strode away. Only the person in charge at the scene remained, pale-faced and trembling with fear, and a group of clueless staff members. A moment later, the person in charge at the scene glanced at everyone. "Everyone, have you all remembered what the commander said? Don't blame me for not reminding you. This person's identity is directly connected to the Emperor. You'd better listen to his words and not take them lightly. Otherwise, you will not be able to bear the consequences." Upon hearing this, everyone exchanged glances, their eyes filled with curiosity and speculation about Tang Long's identity. Time flies. The flight from Kyoto to Shanghai has taken off. Kyoto, the Yi family. Tang Long returned to the Yi family and immediately went to report to Old Master Yi. "Sir, Miss and Mr. Chen's flight has already taken off. I have completely erased their boarding records and surveillance videos at the airport, as well as the traces they left while shopping in Kyoto yesterday." Upon hearing this, Grandpa Yi nodded in satisfaction, his gaze falling on Tang Long, and he praised. "Well done, thank you for making the trip yourself. It's no trouble at all. It's my honor to serve the leader." Tang Long quickly shook his head, not daring to take credit. "Today is my birthday. Although I don't want to make a big fuss, I can't stop these old friends from coming to my Yi family home as guests. Well, it's good to have some fun, so we can't spoil the mood. Pass the word that I need to book several tables of fine wine and food at the Heavenly Palace banquet to entertain our distinguished guests at noon. We must not neglect them." Old Master Yi smiled and gave his instructions. "Yes, sir." Tang Long nodded respectfully and responded decisively. A storm is brewing silently in the Yi family. However, Chen Yang and Yi Qingya were sent away by Old Master Yi in advance, away from the center of the storm, thus avoiding a lot of trouble and disputes. After several hours of flight, the plane finally landed safely at Shanghai Airport. The hatch opened. Chen Yang and Yi Qingya walked hand in hand toward the airport's VIP passage, amidst the envious glances of the flight attendants. Luggage is handled by dedicated staff, who will help deliver it to the exit. Soon, Chen Yang noticed that Lin Yuan was waiting ahead in a minivan. Lin Yuan had obviously also spotted Chen Yang and Yi Qingya. He immediately opened the car door, got out of the driver's seat, and jogged over to Chen Yang. "Mr. Chen, Ms. Yi." Lin Yuan smiled slightly and greeted him respectfully. Master Lin arrived right on time. Chen Yang said with a smile. "Upon learning of Mr. Chen and Ms. Yi's flight information, I arrived at the airport half an hour early. With such a high salary offered to me by the company, I naturally cannot waste Mr. Chen's precious time." Lin Yuan has a high level of awareness. This answer earned Chen Yang a lot of goodwill. "Well said. Work hard, and I'll ask the finance department to give you a raise later." Chen Yang was overjoyed and immediately wanted to give Lin Yuan a raise. "Thank you, Mr. Chen." Lin Yuan knew that a big boss like Chen Yang was not short of money at all. When it comes to raising wages, it's no joke. His salary was already considerable. If it were to increase further, it would far exceed the income of white-collar workers in the company. Thinking of this, Lin Yuan couldn't help but feel excited and thanked Chen Yang. Soon, Chen Yang and Yi Qingya got into the car and headed towards the city center. An hour later, the van arrived at the detached villa in OCT. It was almost noon lunchtime. Entering the villa lobby, Chen Shan and his wife Wu Yan immediately came out to greet them. "Son, Qingya, didn't you say you were going to Kyoto to celebrate Grandpa Yi's birthday? Why did you arrive in Kyoto just yesterday and fly back so hastily today? Could it be that things aren't going well?" Chen Shan's face was full of worry. So he immediately asked, "Dad, you're overthinking it. With your son personally handling the matter, how could anything go wrong?" Chen Yang shook his head, looking confident. "Qingya and I originally wanted to celebrate her grandfather's birthday, and we had prepared the gifts in advance. But due to certain unavoidable reasons, Elder Yi insisted that Qingya and I come back first. As for our engagement, their parents personally agreed." Upon learning this news, Chen Shan and Wu Yan breathed a sigh of relief, although they didn't know what Chen Yang and Yi Qingya had experienced in Kyoto. But at least, the result was even smoother than they had expected. After all, with Grandpa Yi and Grandma Yi agreeing to the engagement, Chen Yang and Yi Qingya's purpose for this trip can be considered achieved. "Son, you're amazing." Wu Yan couldn't help but give Chen Yang a thumbs up and praise him. It should be noted that the Yi family holds a prominent position in Kyoto. As the pillar and anchor of the Yi family, Old Master Yi is naturally majestic and domineering. Ordinary people would tremble, and their legs would go weak if they saw a big shot like Grandpa Yi. But nervousness and anxiety are inevitable. Chen Yang's decision to go to the meeting alone must have been due to his passing of Old Master Yi's test, which made it possible for the other party to agree to his engagement with Yi Qingya. Based on this alone, he is far superior to his peers. "Dad, Mom, don't worry. My engagement with Qingya is all going according to plan." Chen Yang smiled confidently and comforted his parents. "Yes, Dad believes you can handle it." Chen Shan nodded emphatically, showing his utmost trust in Chen Yang. "You must be exhausted after a morning flight. I've prepared the food. Although it doesn't taste as delicious as what you, the chef, make, it'll still be edible." Wu Yan looked at her son and Yi Qingya and greeted them. Chapters 193-194. The school beauty takes the initiative to kiss, and she takes over futures trading again, Part 2. At this moment, Chen Yang and Yi Qingya's stomachs were already growling with hunger, so they had no reason to complain. The family moved to the dining table and sat down to eat heartily. Chen Yang, in particular, beamed with happiness as he ate the meal his mother had prepared. After the meal, Chen Yang and Yi Qingya carried their suitcases back to their room and spent some time unpacking them. Host detected tidying up skill proficiency plus 200. Beginner organizer, 205,000. Because Chen Yang possesses the skills of an organizer, he packs his luggage with incredible speed and efficiency. Before Yi Qingya could even notice, Chen Yang had already finished tidying up and was sitting in a chair watching her work with a smile. "Chen Yang, you're so capable. Could you help me clean this up?" "Please, please." Yi Qingya clasped her hands together, her face showing a pleading expression. That pitiful expression made one want to protect it. Of course, no problem. For Chen Yang, this was just a simple matter, nothing difficult at all. Seeing that Yi Qingya had taken the initiative to ask, he readily agreed without hesitation. "However, since I helped you, shouldn't you show your appreciation in some way? I can't keep putting in all this effort for nothing, can I?" Chen Yang suddenly changed the subject, a faint smile playing on his lips as he looked at Yi Qingya with a playful expression. "Don't worry, I know the rules." The words were spoken. Yi Qingya then got up and moved closer to Chen Yang. The distance between the two continued to shrink. Yi Qingya opened her arms and took the initiative to hug Chen Yang's neck. The next second she tiptoed and with lightning speed kissed Chen Yang on the lips. Then a sweet smile appeared on her face, and she stared at Chen Yang with incredibly tender eyes. "Is this enough?" "It seems like it's still not enough." Chen Yang looked at Yi Qingya's healing smile, a sly glint in his eyes. Yi Qingya blushed slightly when she saw that Chen Yang was so greedy. Fortunately, she has developed a strong mental fortitude and is no longer the type to feel unbearably shy when Chen Yang flirts with her. Thinking about how Chen Yang had overcome numerous obstacles to be with her, gaining not only his parents' approval, but also his grandparents' consent. A single kiss was certainly not enough to express her feelings for Chen Yang. Then, Yi Qingya leaned forward, closed her eyes, and offered a kiss. Chen Yang did not refuse, but responded enthusiastically. At that moment, the air in the room became ambiguous. After a long while, their lips parted. Chen Yang was finally satisfied and released Yi Qingya. He could clearly feel that Yi Qingya's love for him had become even more intense. "Qingya, now your grandparents have also agreed to our engagement. Then let's have our parents choose an auspicious day as soon as possible and finalize the wedding arrangements. I can't wait to officially become your fiancé." Chen Yang's voice was full of sincerity and earnestness. Yi Qingya covered her mouth with her hand, looking deeply moved. She tried her best to calm herself down, her voice choked with emotion, Okay, I'll do whatever you say. After we get engaged, I will hire a nanny and maid to take care of you so you can stay home and prepare for childbirth with peace of mind. Don't worry, I will make sure our child is born safely into this world and has the best environment to grow up in. I assure you. Chen Yang held Yi Qingya's fair and smooth hand and said with a firm expression, I believe you can do it. Yi Qingya nodded decisively, meeting Chen Yang's sincere and enthusiastic gaze. They exchanged sweet words, and their hearts raced rapidly. After a while, Chen Yang got to work, and with the help of his organizing skills, Yi Qingya's clothes and miscellaneous items were neatly placed in their original places in her suitcase. The movements were nimble and quick. Yi Qingya was stunned. Chen Yang, how are you so capable? Yi Qingya couldn't help but praise. Outstanding people are destined to shine, no matter what industry they are in. And I clearly belong to that category. Chen Yang, without any modesty, laughed. I'm a little sleepy, I'll take a nap first. If you have something to do at your company, then go ahead and get busy. Yi Qingya glanced at Chen Yang and said understandingly, Okay, you should get some rest. After saying that, Chen Yang gave Yi Qingya a hug, then turned and left the room. Driver Lin Yuan and the van had been waiting at the villa entrance for quite some time. After Chen Yang got into the car, it headed towards Qingyang Financial Investment Company. About half an hour, Chen Yang arrived at the company and strode into his office. Lin Tian and Ma Wenji rushed over upon hearing the news. Boss, while you were away for the past 2 days, young Master Qin has been coming to our company the whole time. Lin Tian sat down next to Chen Yang and took the initiative to report. Yes, I know. He must have come to the company about a collaboration, and I will handle this personally. Chen Yang nodded. Boss, you asked me to help you find an assistant, and I've already found a few candidates. When would you be free to conduct an in-person interview? Ma Wenji suddenly spoke up. It can be done now. Tell them to come to the company right now. Chen Yang thought for a moment and replied, No problem. Ma Wenji responded decisively. Is the investment team in place? The futures market will open soon, and I plan to trade myself. Chen Yang asked curiously. It's working hours now. They're all definitely in the investment department. Boss, I'll inform Director Ning right away and have them prepare in advance. When Lin Tian heard that Chen Yang was going to personally take charge of the operation, his expression became visibly excited. After all, being able to witness Chen Yang's trading was an immense honor for him. Go. Chen Yang nodded. 15 minutes later, in the trading room of the investment department, a dozen or so traders sat in front of their computers. Each of them had a large sum of money in their account. The transaction can begin immediately upon Chen Yang's command. Chen Yang's gaze swept over everyone, then his attention focused on the tablet in his hand, checking the dynamics of the futures market. At this time, the futures market opened, and funds began to flow in, resulting in a large number of transactions. Chen Yang did not rush to issue instructions, but instead observed the situation repeatedly. Host detected investing in the futures market. The title of God of Investment is activated. God-level analytical and judgment abilities are materializing. Silver code XXXXXX, price rose 3%, then reversed and fell 5%. Oil code XXXXXX, price plus 10%, down 5%. Gold code XXXXXX, price plus 8%, down 5%. All the dynamic data of futures, including price fluctuations, were generated into a light screen image that clearly appeared in front of Chen Yang's eyes, giving her a god-like perspective. Target oil, start buying now. Chen Yang raised his head, his sharp eyes sweeping over the group of traders. The next moment, the operation command was decisively issued. Yes, Mr. Chen. The traders responded in unison. Then they used the mouse and keyboard to immediately conduct the transaction. Chapter 194, The bigger the storm, the more expensive the fish. Profit of 15%, totaling 102 million. Qingyang Financial Investment Company has made considerable profits after this period of development. With the addition of the 500 million yuan invested by Qin Dong, the maximum amount of funds currently available is nearly 700 million yuan. Therefore, Chen Yang set aside 20 million yuan in advance for unforeseen circumstances. He invested the remaining 680 million in the futures market. A dozen or so seasoned traders were operating their respective investment accounts, frantically buying oil futures. As transactions continue, the account balance visibly decreases. This continued for nearly 20 minutes, during which time all of the company's funds were converted into oil futures. The influx of massive funds caused a slight increase in oil prices. Surprisingly, this happened right after the trader at Qingyang Financial Investment Company completed the transaction. At the same time, Country M, far across the ocean, a well-known financial media outlet reported on a story about a giant cargo ship carrying oil being stranded at sea for nearly half a month after encountering a storm. Several financial institutions under the control of wealthy families immediately set their sights on international oil futures, preparing to buy up stocks at rock-bottom prices. These days, the internet and media are readily available. Even the slightest disturbance can trigger a chain reaction. The news quickly reached China. Those who had first-hand information immediately raised funds and prepared to enter the market in a big way. As if it were all pre-arranged, everyone tacitly began to drive up oil prices. Plus 1%, plus 3%, plus 5%. Oil prices have been soaring. It instantly attracted the attention of many major investors and investment gurus. By the time they realized what was happening, the stock price had already skyrocketed. By the time you tried to get in, it was already too late. At this time, inside the trading room of Qingyang Financial Investment Company, Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and the other traders in the investment department stared at the dynamic curve of soaring oil futures prices on the computer screen, their faces filled with shock and disbelief. Despite having a clear understanding of the investment capabilities of their boss, Chen Yang. However, this transaction involved an unprecedentedly large amount of funds. They were still harboring doubts, wondering if anything unexpected might happen during the transaction. But the feedback they received so far has completely proven them wrong. As it turns out, their boss's vision and investment capabilities far exceeded their expectations. No wonder Chen Yang can become a boss at such a young age, while they can only work for others. That kind of courage and ability is something that most people can't do. The bigger the waves, the more expensive the fish. Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. These two short sentences reveal the true thoughts of financial professionals. Only by controlling one's inner desires can one remain rational at all times and make the most correct judgments. However, the vast majority fail to do this and ultimately become slaves to their desires, gradually heading towards destruction in their greed. Such examples are countless in the financial world. Oil futures prices were driven up to an astonishing number by capital inflows within half an hour. Just when the market was booming, a much bigger conspiracy was brewing behind the scenes. Chen Yang was fully aware of this. With the price increase approaching the 10% mark, everyone should quickly establish positions and ensure that all futures in their accounts are cleared out as soon as possible. Once the funds are recovered, we will start shorting. Chen Yang saw that everyone was immersed in joy. His eyes narrowed and he spoke in a low voice. These words were spoken. Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and the other traders in the investment department all looked puzzled, confused by Chen Yang's actions. But Chen Yang didn't explain further. Seeing Chen Yang's serious expression, everyone realized the seriousness of the situation. As a result, the traders' attention immediately turned to the futures market. Less than 15 minutes. As Chen Yang predicted, oil futures prices rose to nearly 10%. None of the traders dared to delay and immediately carried out the operations according to Chen Yang's orders. Clear out your inventory immediately and sell off your holdings. In the futures market, some retail investors who wanted to speculate were worried about not being able to buy oil futures. Suddenly, large sell orders appeared in the market, and they rushed forward like sharks smelling blood. Divide up all the shares sold by Qingyang Financial Investment Company as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the company's account quickly received a wave of funds. They also made a 10% profit from the futures market, totaling 68 million. But this is not the end, but only the beginning. As soon as all traders saw the funds return to their accounts, they immediately reversed their positions and went short. The newly acquired funds, barely warmed up, were immediately poured into the futures market again. They are extremely efficient. Following the successful transaction, oil futures did not immediately decline, but continued to grow at a slow pace. This means that the funds in the account are constantly incurring losses. For every 1% increase in price, Qingyang Financial Investment Company faces a 1% loss. Given the large amount of capital invested, this 1% translates to a loss of 6.8 million. Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and the other traders in the investment department dared not make a sound. but they kept glancing at Chen Yang out of the corner of their eyes. However, they found that Chen Yang remained calm throughout, showing no signs of impatience despite the company's losses. This scene surprised everyone. Could it be that the boss's prediction was wrong? Just when everyone thought so, reality slapped them in the face once again. 2 minutes later, oil futures prices, like speculative stocks, began to fall without warning. It was as if an unseen hand was forcefully suppressing the rise in oil futures prices. Suddenly, a number of large sell orders appeared in the market, suspected to be capital dumping to reap profits from retail investors. 1%, 3%, 5%. Like an avalanche, oil futures prices began to plummet, falling drastically. Unlike others who were panicked and uneasy, under Chen Yang's orders, Qingyang Financial Investment Company had already completed its strategic planning and made a fortune. At the 5% mark, begin liquidation immediately. Seeing that oil futures prices had fallen to their lowest point, Chen Yang once again gave orders to the traders. Receive. This moment, without any hesitation, all traders strictly followed Chen Yang's orders. In their eyes, their boss was practically a stock market genius reincarnated, always able to make moves that ordinary people couldn't even imagine, and then accurately predict market trends. Under the shocked and incredulous gazes of everyone, the company made a fortune. Such skill is unbelievable unless witnessed firsthand. Finally, at the last minute, all traders completed the settlement. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief once all the funds were returned to their accounts. Using 680 million yuan, and after an hour of trading, Qingyang Financial Investment Company ultimately made a profit of 15% in the futures market. The total profit was 102 million. This feat once again left everyone in awe. At this moment, Chen Yang smiled faintly, looking confident and assured. It was as if everything was unfolding under his control. Chapter 195 triggers the interviewer skill, upgrades to beginner level, and the assistant candidate is finalized. Mr. Lin, I'll leave the rest of the work to you. Chen Yang handed the tablet to Lin Tian and said with a smile, Yes, boss. Lin Tian respectfully replied, Mr. Ma, let's go see the assistant you've chosen for me. Chen Yang raised his hand to check the time, and then said to Ma Wenji, Yes, boss. Ma Wenji nodded with a smile. The two walked out of the trading room one after the other, and then went to an interview office. Shortly after I sat down, the company's HR let a young man in. Boss, Mr. Ma, these are the applicant's information. The HR representative proactively handed a stack of documents to Chen Yang and Ma Wenji's desk. Yes, thank you for your hard work. Chen Yang smiled and nodded. The HR person sat down in their seat and looked at the young job seeker in front of them, saying, Sir, please have a seat. Now the interview will begin. The young man bowed and nodded, then sat down and looked at Chen Yang, Ma Wenji, and the HR. He smiled slightly and then began to speak. Hello, 3 interviewers. My name is Qi Shi. I am 28 years old. I graduated from Xiamen University of Finance and Economics with a major in economics and a postgraduate degree. First of all, I would like to thank your company for giving me this opportunity to participate in the interview. I have worked in several financial institutions in Shanghai and interned in various departments. Later, I served as the chairman's assistant at an investment bank, so I have relatively rich experience in the assistant position. When Qi Shi introduced his work experience, he spoke fluently and confidently. After the explanation, Chen Yang and his 2 companions were left with a good impression. Next, the HR asked several highly technical questions, which Qi Shi answered quite well, demonstrating his extensive preparation experience. Ma Wenji also casually mentioned one, and Qi Shi's answer, while not perfect, was still acceptable. Host detected to be conducting an interview and observed the entire process. Interviewer skill triggered, proficiency plus 1000. Congratulations, host. Your interviewer skill has been upgraded to beginner level, 05000. Chen Yang, who was sitting in his seat watching Ma Wenji, and the company HR asked Qi Shi questions, suddenly saw a virtual screen appear in front of him. At the same time, a system notification sounded in my ear. The next second, a flood of memories about how to conduct interviews, interview tips, and how to handle various unexpected situations came to Chen Yang's mind. Then it is absorbed and digested by him, and eventually transformed into his own skills. Seeing this, Chen Yang sat up straight and took the initiative to ask Qi Shi 2 questions. However, these 2 questions clearly touched on Qi Shi's blind spots, and the feedback he gave did not satisfy Chen Yang. Therefore, Chen Yang mentally eliminated him from the list. Then they invited the next interviewee to enter. However, the result was that all three interviewees were eliminated. Just when Chen Yang thought that none of the interviewees were suitable for him, a young man in a suit with regular features and a handsome appearance walked in. Good morning, afternoon, three interviewers. My name is Bai Yuxuan. I graduated from Jiangsu University with a master's degree in financial management. During my university years, I interned at Tianjin Financial Institution and worked at Jingtai Investment Bank for a few years after graduation. I left the company for personal reasons and returned to Shanghai from Jiangsu and Zhejiang. I am currently looking for a job in Shanghai that is related to my major. If I am fortunate enough to join your company, I will definitely work at the highest efficiency and share the burden with the boss. Bai Yuxuan first greeted the three interviewers in front of him, and then began to introduce himself. This time, neither Ma Wenji nor the HR representative spoke, because their opinions are not important. What matters is whether Bai Yuxuan can pass Chen Yang's interview. Chen Yang realized this as well, so he asked directly. The three questions covered a professional perspective, daily work management, and life circumstances. After careful consideration, Bai Yuxuan began to answer. The whole process was orderly and the thinking was clear, which impressed Chen Yang. Host detected to be conducting an interview. Interviewer skill triggered. Interviewer proficiency plus 200. Interviewer skills beginner level 805,000. Yes, that's a very good answer. Congratulations, Bai Yuxuan, you've been hired. Report to the company tomorrow and complete the onboarding procedures. Your position is my special assistant. Specific salary and benefits will be discussed with you by a company representative. Is there a problem? Chen Yang looked at Bai Yuxuan and said, No, thank you, Mr. Chen. Bai Yuxuan was flattered to be hired on the spot. He immediately beamed with joy and replied to Chen Yang, Okay, if there's nothing else, you can go back now. Remember to report to the company on time tomorrow. Chen Yang nodded. Yes, Mr. Chen. Bai Yuxuan stood up, bowed to Chen Yang, and then turned and left the office. Ma Wenji and the company's HR looked at each other, marveling at Chen Yang's outstanding abilities. Even a simple interview can be made into so many intricacies. Fortunately, Chen Yang didn't make things too difficult for them when he recruited them. Otherwise, they might not have been able to join the company. Before I knew it, it was time to leave work. Driver Lin Yuan drove Chen Yang back to the OCT villa in his minivan. After arriving home, Chen Yang took off his shoes and came to the hall wearing slippers. Father Chen Shan, Mother Wu Yan, and girlfriend Yi Qingye were sitting on the sofa chatting. Dad, Mom, Qingye, what are you talking about? You seem to be having a great time. Chen Yang stepped forward and asked curiously. In the afternoon, your Aunt Wen came to our house for a while, and we talked about your engagement to Qingye. We finally decided to set the date for 3 days from now. The engagement ceremony will be kept simple. The main purpose is to invite our close relatives from both families to have a simple meal together. Your Aunt Wen will be responsible for notifying the bride's relatives, while your mother and I have decided to notify your grandparents, your eldest uncle and aunt, and your third uncle and aunt, so that they can all come to Shanghai in a couple of days to attend your engagement banquet with Qingye. As for your mother's relatives, it's not too late to invite them after you two have your official wedding. Chen Shan smiled and then explained, Okay, you can decide on this matter. Then I need to take some time these next couple of days to accompany Qingye to try on wedding dresses. I'll also buy her a diamond ring and some jewelry while I'm at it. Although it's an engagement banquet, all the engagement gifts are still necessary. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang smiled and said, No problem, you two can arrange it. However, we need to choose a hotel for the banquet in advance. Your mother and I will take your Aunt Wen to look around in the next couple of days, and we'll make sure to handle this matter perfectly. Chen Shan said excitedly, Dad, Mom, thank you for your hard work. If you need anything, just let us know, and Qingye and I will do our best to cooperate. Chen Yang replied with a smile. Chapters 196-197. Food is the most important thing for people. It's only right to cook for my future wife and children. Seeing how much his parents cared about his engagement, Chen Yang didn't object. Instead, he placed his full trust in them. After all, he really didn't have much experience in this area. Every detail and process needs to be overseen by the parents. Upon hearing their son's words, Chen Shan and Wu Yan nodded in satisfaction. Okay, then it's settled. After, Chen Yang sat on the sofa to rest for a while, and Yi Qingye took the initiative to sit next to him and thoughtfully massaged his shoulders. In a voice only the two of them could hear, they asked, "Chen Yang, what are we having for dinner tonight?" Upon hearing this, Chen Yang looked at Yi Qingye with amusement. "You little glutton, all you know is food. Food is the first necessity of the people. Besides, I'm carrying your Chen family's child in my belly right now. Isn't it only natural for you to cook for me and the baby?" Yi Qingye was not intimidated at all. She widened her eyes and met Chen Yang's gaze directly. "Yes, yes, yes. You are the future mistress of the Chen family and the mother of my child. I would never mistreat you, no matter who else I am. Tell me, what do you want to eat tonight? I'll make it for you." Chen Yang couldn't help but smile. Then he took Yi Qingye's hand and said in a doting tone, "I want to eat garlic-flavored pork belly and your garlic and honey chicken wings." Yi Qingye's eyes lit up, and she immediately told Chen Yang the names of the dishes. "No problem, I'll go to the kitchen and make it for you now." Chen Yang agreed to Yi Qingye's request without hesitation. Immediately afterwards, he got up and walked towards the kitchen. As soon as I entered the kitchen, I saw a shopping bag on the counter, filled with various ingredients. Among them were chicken wings and lean meat that Yi Qingye specifically requested. Seeing that the ingredients were prepared so thoroughly, Chen Yang saved himself a lot of trouble. He first put on an apron, then took out the ingredients and placed them on the water tank to wash. Then pick up the cutting board and knife and start processing the ingredients. Host detected cooking, knife skills proficiency plus 500, culinary skills proficiency plus 500, advanced knife skills 5001-0000, advanced culinary skills 5001-0000. Chen Yang's entire process of chopping and cooking was as smooth as flowing water, which made Yi Qingye, who was standing next to him, feel happy and couldn't help but exclaim in amazement and praise, providing Chen Yang with a lot of emotional value. An hour later, 5 dishes and a soup were freshly prepared under Chen Yang's superb culinary skills. The family of 4 sat around the dining table, thoroughly enjoying their meal. After the meal, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye went out for a walk. The two held hands, and the moonlight shone on them, casting long shadows. A feeling called happiness grew wildly in their hearts. The next morning at 7 o'clock, Chen Yang's biological clock kept him up early as usual. After returning from his morning exercise, he ate breakfast prepared by his mother, Wu Yan, said goodbye to Yi Qingye, and headed out to the company. Qingyang Financial Investment Company. The boss's office. Not long after Chen Yang sat down, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Chen Yang called out towards the door. "Mr. Chen, I'm here to report for duty." Bai Yuxuan pushed open the door, walked up to Chen Yang in a business uniform, and said respectfully, "Zio Bai, you're here pretty early." Chen Yang said with a smile, "Mr. Chen, I'm new here, so I thought I'd come early to familiarize myself with the company environment and my job responsibilities." Bai Yuxuan replied with a smile, "Yes, it's a good thing that young people are energetic. You can ask me any questions you don't understand any time you're with me, but you must never try to be clever. Did you understand?" Chen Yang, with a serious expression, reprimanded Bai Yuxuan. "Mr. Chen, I've got it." Bai Yuxuan nodded and replied respectfully, "Pass the notice. All middle and senior management personnel in the company will have a meeting in the conference room in 10 minutes. Chen Yang gave Bai Yuxuan the order. "Yes, I'll take care of it right away." Bai Yuxuan immediately got into character, then turned and walked out of the office. 10 minutes later, inside the conference room, many of the company's middle and senior managers gathered. Chen Yang pushed open the conference room door and led Bai Yuxuan in under everyone's gaze, then sat down at the head of the table. "Ladies and gentlemen, after this period of development, the company is now fully on the right track. And because of its impressive investment performance, it has made a considerable name for itself in the industry. So strike while the iron is hot. I will have General Manager Lin and General Manager Ma formulate relevant strategic plans, and I hope that everyone can work together to make the company better and better. In this way, your bonuses and benefits will increase." As the company boss, Chen Yang inevitably had to paint a rosy picture of the future for his employees. This is to motivate them. However, he is not a capitalist, and at the very least, the bonuses and benefits he personally promised will be distributed without any discount. The meeting was brief, consisting of a few general remarks, and then it was adjourned. Chen Yang specifically asked Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and Ning Hao to stay behind. "It's time to officially fulfill the promise I made to them, which included granting them investment authority and funding. It can't be that such a big company is only invested by Chen Yang, while everyone else is just sitting around doing nothing, right? You need to know, all three of them are elites in the financial industry and have considerable investment skills. With enough time and effort invested in training, they may very well become Chen Yang's right-hand men and pillars of the company in the future. Finally, Chen Yang decided to allocate a 20 million yuan quota to the investment department headed by Ning Hao. Lin Tian and Ma Wenji each received 5 million. On a quarterly basis, if they meet their performance targets, Chen Yang will increase their investment amount. If performance targets are not met, the amount of investment they can access will be reduced accordingly. They also set phased goals that were linked to the bonuses and benefits each person received. Lin Tian, Ma Wenji, and Ning Hao were overjoyed and quickly agreed. 10:30 a.m., just as Chen Yang was about to study the Hong Kong stock market, his phone suddenly rang. Upon picking it up, the phone screen displayed the words, "Young Master Chen." Seeing this, Chen Yang quickly pressed the answer button. "Mr. Chen, I heard from Mr. Ma that you're back from your business trip. Are you free now? I'd like to invite you for a coffee." On the other end of the phone, soon Qin Dong's cheerful voice rang out. "How could I possibly refuse an invitation from young Master Qin? Where's the address? I'm coming over now." Chen Yang chuckled lightly and then replied, "Okay, I'll send the address to your phone. See you later." After Qin Dong finished speaking, he hung up the phone immediately. A few seconds later, Chen Yang received an address on his phone. Pinyuan Coffee Shop, East Road, Huainan Street. Seeing this, Chen Yang immediately notified Bai Yuxuan to have the driver prepare the car, as he was about to go out. The van arrived at its destination in about 20 minutes. After getting out of the car, Chen Yang strode into the coffee shop that Qin Dong had specified. Pinyuan Cafe boasts an elegant ambience. From the interior decoration to the tables, chairs, and sofas, and the layout design, every detail has been meticulously crafted. It's immediately obvious that this coffee shop targets a high-end market, setting it apart from other coffee shops. The guests who come here to discuss business are either industry elites, middle and senior management of companies or business owners, and wealthy wives and heiresses who don't have to work. After all, this place is perfect for them to have afternoon tea together and chat. Chapter 197, Pinyuan Coffee Shop. Reunion with Qin Dong. Using the opportunity to protect oneself. Chen Yang walked into the hall, stood still and glanced around. Soon, he spotted Qin Dong sitting in the corner by the window and walked over to him. "Mr. Chen is such a busy man. I've been busy with business trips these past few days, traveling to other places." When Qin Dong saw Chen Yang approaching, a slight smile appeared on his face and he said teasingly, "To be honest, Mr. Qin, I have some personal matters to attend to recently, and I've been too busy to get away. We apologize for any neglect to young Master Qin." Chen Yang smiled calmly and then took the initiative to apologize. After all, Qin Dong's attitude shows that he values cooperation with him very much. For this reason, he has put a lot of effort into himself. Unfortunately, Chen Yang has been busy either going back to his hometown or going to Kyoto lately. Qin Dong kept missing his target. It's completely understandable that he felt some dissatisfaction. All right, it's all in the past. There's no need to dwell on it. Mr. Chen, what have you thought about the conditions I proposed earlier? After so much time, I think you should have your answer by now, right? Qin Dong waved his hand, indicating that he didn't care. His eyes shone brightly, and he was even more concerned about Chen Yang's attitude toward cooperation. After all, this concerns the Qin family's real interests in the future, and it cannot be taken lightly. Young Master Qin, the reason I came here is to discuss this matter with you. First of all, I am very grateful to Mr. Qin for his kindness and willingness to invest 500 million yuan to cooperate with me. Based on previous investments, Mr. Qin should be able to see the strength of my company in the field of financial investment. Young Master Qin wants me to become a strategic partner of the Qin family and deepen our cooperation, which is perfectly reasonable. But from a business perspective, I don't want to be controlled by others. Therefore, after careful consideration over the past few days, I have finally come up with a highly feasible cooperation plan. I just don't know if young Master Qin is interested. Chen Yang sat down on the sofa in front of Qin Dong, his expression relaxed and comfortable, and spoke calmly. "Tell me." Qin Dong's eyes flickered, a hint of curiosity in them. He had no idea what Chen Yang was really up to. But based on his understanding of Chen Yang, he knew that the other party was definitely a smart person. The Qin family is a top-tier wealthy family in Shanghai with a profound history. They have an absolute advantage in terms of resources and connections. Despite Chen Yang's exceptional talent and extraordinary abilities, he ultimately pales in comparison to those with true power and influence. If he becomes arrogant and takes advantage of his talent, he will not only fail to be recruited by the Qin family, but may even anger them. Ultimately, there was only one outcome: being blacklisted by the Qin family at all costs. After all, Chen Yang's abilities were simply too terrifying. Any force that receives his help will be greatly empowered and will shine even brighter. Since the Qin family can't have it, then destroy it. We must absolutely not allow Chen Yang to have any possibility of joining forces with the Qin family's enemies or doing anything that would harm the Qin family's interests. Even if the chances are slim, we must nip it in the bud. This approach is the consistent style of wealthy families. Chen Yang had no idea what Qin Dong was thinking. Chen Yang smiled slightly and slowly said, "That's how it is. These past few days, I've been visiting my girlfriend's elders at her home. After learning that I had started a financial investment company and about its performance, they expressed great optimism about the company's potential. Therefore, both sets of elders are planning to invest in my company and give me a helping hand. Young Master Qin has a discerning eye. I will certainly never forget your kindness in helping me. Therefore, I would also like to invite young Master Qin to invest in our company. What do you think?" These words were spoken. Qin Dong's expression clearly showed surprise. After a moment, Qin Dong tentatively asked, "Mr. Chen, who is your girlfriend's elder?" "Wen Liang, chairman of Tianhuan Group and head of the Wen family." "Lin Kun, chairman of Weihai Group." Chen Yang did not hide anything and gave the names of Yi Qingya's maternal uncle and cousin. Upon hearing this, Qin Dong's eyes widened instantly. These two groups are definitely among the top in Shanghai's upper-class circles. Even though their foundation and resources are not as deep as the Qin families, they should not be underestimated. Qin Dong had assumed that Chen Yang was a nobody with no background. But despite all his calculations, he never expected that Chen Yang would actually have a girlfriend, and her relatives and elders were actually quite powerful. This also means that her family background is equally unfathomable. She recognized Chen Yang's talent and ability, which is why she stepped in to help him make connections and have her family become his backing. In this way, Chen Yang had something to rely on and could fully unleash his investment talent, which was comparable to that of a monster. Under these circumstances, it's unlikely that the Qin family will be able to monopolize the profits. In just a few breaths, Qin Dong had already gone through everything in his mind. They also realized that Chen Yang not only had ability, but also had means and ambition. Regardless of the circumstances, the fact that Chen Yang still remembered his kindness and was willing to give the Qin family a chance to invest made Qin Dong somewhat gratified. After all, Chen Yang now has Tianhuan Group and Weihai Group as his backers, and he is not short of funds or connections. He can make a fortune without cooperating with the Qin family. But Chen Yang did not do that. He would rather sacrifice some interests than let the Qin family become his enemy. In fact, he wanted to turn the Qin family into his ally. Although it was a collaboration, Chen Yang always maintained firm control of the initiative. It is easy to see from this that Chen Yang is thorough and shrewd in his actions. "Mr. Chen, I thought you were just a promising young man, but I never expected you to have the potential to become a son-in-law of a wealthy family." Qin Dong couldn't help but sigh. Young Master Qin is joking. It was all a series of unfortunate coincidences. After all, I never thought about taking shortcuts. I wanted to make a name for myself through my own abilities. But alas, this society is too cruel. Without a background or a powerful backer, you're bound to be targeted. In the end, you'll be doing all the work for someone else. The main reason I brought in other investors is that I don't like being controlled by others. I hope young Master Qin can understand. Chen Yang shrugged and smiled lightly. "Well, since you've considered everything so thoroughly, what else can I say? There's nothing I can do, you're just that capable. By cooperating with you, I can at least guarantee that my investment will make a profit. Based on that alone, I have no reason to refuse. Not to mention, you've also brought in such a powerful ally for the company. I firmly believe that under your leadership, the company will grow bigger and bigger. Even if I only own a small percentage of the shares, it will definitely bring me huge returns in the future." Qin Dong had witnessed Chen Yang's investment prowess firsthand, and more than once. Therefore, now that Chen Yang is willing to give him the opportunity to invest in the company, He absolutely cannot miss it. After all, no one can guarantee how high the company will go under Chen Yang's leadership. But there's one thing Qin Dong can guarantee. That is, his investment today will surely be at least 10 times more in the future, earning back both the principal and interest. Chapter 198. Qin Dong was curious. Who exactly was Chen Yang's girlfriend? So, young Master Qin agrees to my cooperation method. Chen Yang smiled faintly. While it appeared to be a question, he had already anticipated that Qin Dong would not refuse. In fact, he would genuinely thank him for giving the Qin family the opportunity to invest. After all, he held the initiative in the negotiations. While the Qin family is powerful, Chen Yang's backing is equally formidable. If the Qin family doesn't want to make enemies and bring more trouble upon themselves, Qin Dong knows how to make the right choice. After all, the essence of business is the exchange of benefits. As long as interests can be aligned, it's simply a matter of how much or how little one can earn. Unless someone is completely brainless, no one would ever push their allies to the opposite side. Qin Dong was a smart man, and he knew that his choice represented the Qin family. Therefore, it was even less likely that they would refuse Chen Yang's proposal. Certainly, but if I may ask one more question, what percentage of shares do Tianyuan Group and Weihai Group hold, and how much capital have they invested? My Qin family has agreed to cooperate with you. What are the terms regarding investment and shareholding? This was the point that Qin Dong was most curious about at that moment, so he couldn't hold back any longer and asked Chen Yang. I'm offering the same conditions to all three of you. Invest 1 billion to acquire a 10% stake. For a startup financial company, a valuation of tens of billions is simply astronomical. But with me, I will absolutely make your investment worthwhile. After all, the more funds a company has at its disposal, the larger the scale of its investments in the U.S. stock and futures markets can be. Risk and reward are directly proportional. However, I am absolutely confident that I can keep the risks under control and make as much profit as possible for the company. Once the funds reach a certain scale, I will change the strategic goals and allocate the company's funds to industries such as finance, technology, consumer goods, and the internet, which will greatly reduce financial risks. I believe that the company's valuation will skyrocket in just a few years. At that time, young Master Qin will definitely be glad he made the decision today. Chen Yang smiled confidently. His impassioned and inspiring words painted a picture of a vast business empire for Qin Dong. While it may seem like empty promises, it also highlights Chen Yang's absolute confidence in building his business empire. If anyone else dared to make such boastful claims in front of him, Qin Dong would definitely scoff at them. But Chen Yang is different. His investment skills were so strong that Qin Dong found them outrageous. With the Qin family, Tianyuan Group, and Weihai Group now providing support, one can only imagine how high he can go in the future. To be honest, even Qin Dong himself couldn't have imagined it. It's a good thing that Mr. Chen is confident. However, at this stage, I personally think that you should focus your work on the financial industry. After all, this is the professional field that you are most familiar with and most confident in. Qin Dong chuckled awkwardly, then said, "That's natural." Chen Yang nodded with a light laugh. "I will have the company's legal department revise the specific contract terms in a timely manner, and then arrange for my assistant to send them to young Master Qin. After Mr. Qin has reviewed it and found no problems, we will arrange a time and place to formally sign the contract." Qin Dong nodded quickly. "Okay, we'll do it your way." After finishing their official business, the two began to chat casually. "Mr. Chen, who exactly is your girlfriend? Why are her relatives and elders so powerful? It almost scared me to death." Qin Dong looked at Chen Yang with curiosity and asked, "It's not convenient to disclose that right now, but if there's an opportunity later, I'll naturally introduce you to young Master Qin." Chen Yang's lips curled up slightly, but he had no intention of saying anything more. After all, Yi Qingya's identity is quite sensitive. If Qin Dong knew her identity, he would inevitably connect her with her father, Yi Zhenghua, causing unnecessary trouble. "All right then, I won't ask any more." Qin Dong felt a little disappointed when he saw that Chen Yang was unwilling to reveal anything. Then he got up and left. After leaving the coffee shop, Chen Yang took a car back to the company. Inside the office, Chen Yang sat at his desk, his eyes fixed on the computer screen in front of him. Hong Kong stocks fluctuated in the morning, with rare metals and real estate experiencing sharp fluctuations, causing many stock prices to plummet. Many big investors and speculative capital players seized the opportunity to enter the market, resulting in fierce competition. Chen Yang missed out on this financial battle because of his meeting with Qin Dong. This made Chen Yang secretly feel regretful. Fortunately, although we can't eat meat, at least we can still get some soup. Host detected engaging in stock trading. The title God of Investment is activated. God-level analytical and judgment abilities are materializing. Yintai Manufacturing, stock code XXXXXX. Stock prices stopped falling and started to rise, price plus 5%. Keta Real Estate, stock code XXXXXX. Stock price stopped falling and rebounded, price plus 8%. A virtual light screen immediately appeared in front of Chen Yang, displaying detailed data on stock price fluctuations. Upon seeing this, Chen Yang immediately logged into his investment account and then took out 1 billion yuan to invest. He skillfully operated the system, establishing a position at the appropriate price and successfully buying both stocks. Afterwards, sell orders were placed at key junctures. After confirming that there were no errors in the operation, Chen Yang stopped paying attention to the stock's dynamics. He took out his phone from his pocket and dialed Yi Qingya's number directly. Beep, beep, beep. The phone rang for a few seconds before being answered. Chen Yang, aren't you at the company? Why are you calling me? Yi Qingya was leaning back on the sofa, applying a face mask and eating grapes, looking quite content. I've almost finished dealing with my work. I'll have the driver pick you up from home later and we'll go eat first. This afternoon, let's go try on wedding dresses. And then I'll buy you a diamond ring and jewelry, how about that? Chen Yang smiled slightly and said to Yi Qingya, Sure, I have no objection. Upon hearing this, Yi Qingya's eyes lit up, and her heart felt as sweet as if it had been coated with honey. The day after tomorrow is her engagement day with Chen Yang, so it's definitely time to start preparing in advance. Yi Qingya felt incredibly excited at the thought of wearing a wedding dress for the first time in her life. Okay, then wait at home for a while, and I'll have the driver come pick you up. Chen Yang said gently. Good. Yi Qingya replied excitedly. About half an hour. Lin Yuan drove the company van to the OCT villa. Yi Qingya was wearing a light blue shirt and white trousers, looking youthful and beautiful, exuding the pure and innocent charm of a school beauty goddess. She walked toward the van, and Lin Yuan immediately stepped forward, saying respectfully, Ms. Yi, Mr. Chen asked me to come and pick you up. Yes, I know. Let's go, let's hurry over there, don't keep him waiting. Yi Qingya nodded slightly, her voice ethereal and melodious. Lin Yuan quickly opened the back door, lowered his head, and dared not look at Yi Qingya, for fear that he might feel even the slightest sense of disrespect. Chapter 199, her palate has been spoiled. When trying on wedding dresses, she looks like a celestial being descended to earth. Yi Qingya did not notice Lin Yuan's actions. She quickly got into the car, her heart filled with anticipation to appear before Chen Yang. Lin Yuan closed the car door and immediately got into the driver's seat. Start the engine, press the accelerator with your right foot, and the van immediately speeds towards its destination. The drive took nearly 20 minutes, and we finally stopped in front of the upscale Xin Rongjai restaurant. As soon as Yi Qingya entered the hall, she saw Chen Yang's figure appear in front of her. Chen Yang walked slowly to Yi Qingya, reached out and hugged her slender waist, as if to declare his ownership to the passing guests. Immediately, his gaze became aggressive as he stared at Yi Qingya, scrutinizing her from head to toe, and said softly, Qingya, you look absolutely gorgeous today. You truly deserve to be called the most beautiful campus belle goddess of Shanghai University. I feel so honored to have such a beautiful girlfriend like you. Yi Qingya rolled her eyes at Chen Yang after hearing his cheesy words. I'm naturally beautiful, and I look good in any style of clothing. You've seen this before. Why are you being so sweet-talking today? Did something happen at the company that made you happy? After spending this time together, Yi Qingya had a pretty good understanding of Chen Yang's temperament. Although Chen Yang is a low-key person who doesn't like to show off and acts with composure. However, sometimes you can judge a person's inner emotions by observing their behavior. After all, no matter how mature he is, he can never hide his youthful spirit. As expected, nothing can be hidden from you. Let's go into the private room first, and we can eat and chat there. Chen Yang took Yi Qingya's fair and smooth hand and walked towards the private room. The room is by the window, offering a great view of the bustling streets outside. Several dishes and desserts that Yi Qingya liked were already laid out on the dining table. Try it first and see if the food here suits your taste. Chen Yang picked up his chopsticks, took out a piece of the secret recipe roast duck, and put it in Yi Qingya's bowl. Yi Qingya was feeling hungry, so she picked up some food with her chopsticks and started eating. After a long pause, she looked at Chen Yang and slowly said, "It's delicious. But compared to the food you cook, it still feels a bit lacking. Chen Yang, I've noticed that I've been eating your cooking every day lately, and my taste has become completely spoiled by you. The food at these upscale restaurants doesn't taste as good as it used to." Upon hearing this, Chen Yang couldn't help but laugh. Immediately afterward, he said, "Qingya, this is not a good thing. If I'm too busy with work to cook for you in the future, won't you be unable to eat anything and be forced to go hungry?" Yi Qingya stuck out her tongue helplessly. "Who told you to cook such delicious food? Even the chefs at these high-end restaurants are slightly less skilled than you. However, if we lower the standards a little, it's still edible." Seeing Yi Qingya's high praise for his cooking skills, Chen Yang was also very happy. "Let's just make do with this for now. I'll cook you a big meal when I get home tonight." In addition, young Master Qin took the initiative to meet with me this morning and specifically discuss the cooperation. I mentioned the names of your maternal uncle and cousin, which completely intimidated him. After some discussion, he finally agreed to cooperate according to the conditions I offered. This means that my company will bring in 3 powerful shareholders and receive 3 billion in investment. With this money, I can expand my investment plans again. This is undoubtedly a big step closer to my goal of building a business empire. Chen Yang's eyes shone brightly, and he couldn't help but share his inner joy with Yi Qingya. Seeing the excited expression on Chen Yang's face, Yi Qingya was genuinely happy for him. After all, it hasn't been easy for Chen Yang to get to where he is now. He had no one to rely on, and no family or relatives to support him. "No one will support my lofty ambitions. I will brave the snow to reach the mountain peak myself. Even if one is not destined for such a fate, one can still climb Kunlun Mountain alone." He broke down class barriers through his talent and ability. Fortunately, Yi Qingya was willing to become Chen Yang's capable wife and use her family's power to protect him, allowing him to fully utilize his abilities. "Chen Yang, I believe you will succeed. I look forward to the day you truly become a force to be reckoned with." Yi Qingya smiled and encouraged her. "Qingya, thank you. My glory will not be enjoyed alone. Half of my medals will always belong to you," Chen Yang said with a grateful expression. The two ate and chatted, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. Time flies, and it's already afternoon. Chen Yang made a reservation in advance at a Mido wedding dress shop. The store has the most professional wedding dress designers and staff. After arriving at the bridal shop, Chen Yang, holding Yi Qingya's hand, stood in front of a row of wedding dresses of different styles. "Ms. Yi, these are all wedding dress styles specially made by our store. Please take a look and see if there's any you particularly like." The beautiful saleswoman stood beside Yi Qingya and introduced the product in a respectful tone. "They all look quite pretty. I just don't know if they have my size." Yi Qingya replied with a smile. "Ms. Yi, these are all standard styles. With your figure in such good shape, you'll definitely be able to fit into them. If you don't believe me, you can try it on in the fitting room. Perfect, it'll also let your boyfriend see what you look like in your wedding dress." The beautiful saleswoman was generous with her praise. These words greatly moved Yi Qingya. "Qingya, go give it a try. It won't take up much time anyway." Chen Yang nodded with a smile. Seeing this, Yi Qingya finally agreed and walked towards the fitting room with the wedding dress in her arms. A few minutes later, the fitting room door was pushed open. Yi Qingya gracefully walked up to Chen Yang, holding up the hem of her wedding dress with both hands. At this moment, Chen Yang was completely stunned by Yi Qingya's charm. So beautiful. She was like a celestial maiden descending to earth, radiating an ethereal aura. Chen Yang's brain went blank for a moment. For a moment, no suitable adjective could be found to describe Yi Qingya's beauty and temperament at this moment. "It's not as exaggerated as you make it out to be." Yi Qingya covered her mouth and chuckled softly, but inside it felt as sweet as honey. Seeing Chen Yang's discomposure, she knew that the effect of wearing this wedding dress had amazed him. "Not an exaggeration at all. If you really don't believe me, look in the mirror and see just how beautiful you are." Chen Yang stepped forward, took Yi Qingya's hand, and then led her to the mirror. This moment, only then did Yi Qingya truly see her own attire. She was stunningly beautiful, with an ethereal beauty and unparalleled elegance. Even she herself felt more beautiful than ever when she looked at herself dressed up in the mirror. Really, every woman is the most beautiful fairy when she puts on her wedding dress. Chapter 200. Yi Qingya. "Chen Yang, when did you learn acupuncture?" Chen Yang, although this wedding dress looks beautiful, we're only getting engaged the day after tomorrow, so there's no need to make it too formal. I think it would be better to wear a formal dress or a cheongsam. How about we save this wedding dress for our wedding ceremony? Yi Qingye took Chen Yang's arm, whispered in his ear. What you said makes sense, but since we're already here, we might as well try them on. My idea is to have a bridal shop designer create a custom-made dress for you. Even if we don't need it for the engagement party, it will still come in handy when we have our wedding. Chen Yang thought for a moment before meeting Yi Qingye's gaze and said with a smile, Chen Yang, you're absolutely right, but who can guarantee that my figure won't change, or I'll gain weight during pregnancy and childbirth? Instead of buying something we can't wear, it's better to have it custom-made before our wedding. What do you think? Yi Qingye's joy vanished as she thought about how her perfect figure might be ruined after giving birth, and her expression fell. Don't worry, absolutely not. You forgot I can help you lose weight with massage. If all else fails, I can give you acupuncture, and I guarantee you'll get back to your pre-pregnancy figure. Even more perfect than before you had children. Chen Yang noticed that Yi Qingye was in a bad mood and knew what was bothering her, so he immediately spoke up to comfort her. You can give massages, I've experienced that firsthand. But when did you learn acupuncture? Upon hearing this, Yi Qingye's eyes widened instantly. She had no idea when Chen Yang had learned a new skill. What's so difficult about that? There are so many medical books and videos available now. It's not difficult at all if you're willing to learn. If you really don't believe me, wait until we get home and I'll personally give you a few acupuncture treatments. You'll definitely feel the effects immediately. Chen Yang shrugged, looking relaxed. All right, since you're so confident, then let's do it your way. We need to buy a wedding dress and also a cheongsam and a formal dress. We'll see how Mom and Dad arrange it then. Similarly, you'll need to buy a traditional Chinese suit and a Western suit. I'll pick out a few for you myself later. Yi Qingye thought for a moment and replied seriously. After communicating with the bridal shop designer, I learned that it would take at least several months to tailor-make a wedding dress and suit. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye are holding their engagement banquet the day after tomorrow, and there simply isn't enough time. Left with no other option, they had to abandon the plan. Afterwards, the two went to other major shopping malls and boutiques to carefully compare the style, color, and texture of each cheongsam and haute couture dress. After careful selection, I finally chose a few cheongsams and haute couture gowns that I was satisfied with. These clothes are not only exquisitely tailored, but also made of superior, soft fabric, which perfectly showcases their temperament and charm when worn. It wasn't until it got dark outside that Chen Yang and Yi Qingye returned to the villa, after they entered the house carrying large and small bags. In the lobby, Chen Shan and Wu Yan, a married couple, couldn't help but feel curious when they saw Chen Yang and Yi Qingye carrying shopping bags. Son, what did you buy? Chen Shan asked curiously. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye exchanged a smile. Then the shopping bag was opened to reveal the cheongsams and haute couture gowns inside. Chen Shan and Wu Yan, the couple, suddenly realized what was going on. It turns out that the young couple went to buy clothes for their engagement party. Dad, Mom, I'll take you out for a stroll tomorrow afternoon, and I'll also buy you both some clothes. Chen Yang said with a smile. Okay. Although your engagement banquet with Qingye is going to be simple, I heard from your aunt when that Yi's relatives and her side of the family will probably be coming. A rough estimate suggests there are quite a few people. Your mother and I will naturally dress up for the occasion and will definitely not embarrass you. Chen Shan knew in his heart that Yi Qingye's relatives were all wealthy and powerful. Although the Chen family is not as good as the others, they should still show the proper attitude to avoid becoming a laughing stock. Therefore, when Chen Shan heard his son's arrangement, he immediately agreed. Dad, what are you saying? Although our family is not as prestigious as the Yi family, we are clean and honest. With me here, our family will only get better and better in the future. So why do you have to belittle yourself? Chen Yang frowned, clearly sensing his father's inner inferiority complex. He immediately spoke up to comfort her. Yes, Dad misspoke. Upon hearing this, Chen Shan couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride. Night, because I promised Yi Qingye that I would cook her a sumptuous meal. So Chen Yang drove to a nearby supermarket to buy some ingredients and seasonings. After returning home, she took her shopping bags and went straight into the kitchen to start cooking. Host detected cooking. Knife skills proficiency plus 500. Culinary skills proficiency plus 500. Advanced knife skills, 5500 10000. Advanced Culinary Skills, 5501-0000. An hour and a half later, a table full of delicious and visually appealing dishes was freshly prepared by Chen Yang. The family sat around the dining table and enjoyed the delicious meal. At the same time, Southeast Military Region, Armored Brigade of a division of a certain group army of the People's Liberation Army. Inside the Deputy Battalion Commander's room in the Reconnaissance Battalion, Yi Minghui had just returned from a regimental meeting and was preparing to organize the meeting minutes. Suddenly, his personal cell phone rang in his drawer. This made Yi Minghui's heart skip a beat. He took out his phone and saw that it was his mother calling. "Mom, is something wrong that you're calling me so late?" As soon as the call connected, Yi Minghui took the initiative to ask. "Minghui, your sister is getting engaged the day after tomorrow. It happened so suddenly that she didn't have time to tell you. If you're not too busy at work, you can take leave and come to Shanghai to attend your sister's engagement party." Wen Jai pondered for a moment, then spoke to her son. "What, how could it be so fast? Mom, who is my little sister engaged to? Could it be that those families in Kyoto are pestering Grandpa again, insisting on a family marriage and forcing my little sister to marry someone? I absolutely will not agree to this." Upon learning from his mother that his younger sister, Yi Qingye, was about to get engaged, Yi Minghui's face instantly turned cold, and his tone was filled with anger. "No, it wasn't them. Your grandfather may be old, but he's not so senile as to push your sister into a fire pit. Your brother-in-law's name is Chen Yang. He studies finance at Shanghai University and is an alumnus of your sister's school. The main reason they're in such a hurry to get engaged is that your sister is pregnant, and the baby is already 2 months along. To avoid gossip and any unforeseen circumstances, your father and I discussed having them hold a simple engagement ceremony first. We'll make other plans after your sister gives birth. Besides, your grandparents have also agreed to this." Wen Jai quickly explained to her son. Chapter 201, brother-in-law Yi Minghui took leave overnight and rushed to Shanghai to learn the basics of Hung Quan. After hearing his mother's words, Yi Minghui's face showed a look of shock and disbelief. "My younger sister, Yi Qingye, is pregnant, and she's already over 2 months along." This news was absolutely devastating for Yi Minghui, who had been serving in the military for many years. "Mom, what exactly happened? How come I've never heard you or Dad mention that my little sister got a boyfriend? What is the other person's identity? What is their family background? What is their character like?" Yi Minghui has always doted on his younger sister, Yi Qingye, since she was a child. Even after joining the military, he would always prepare a special gift for her when he went back on leave each year. Now Yi Qingye is getting engaged without saying a word, which Yi Minghui finds hard to accept. They hadn't been dating for long, and the pregnancy was completely unexpected. However, your sister likes Chen Yang very much. That's why she wants to have the baby. Son, don't worry, your dad and I have both checked him out. Chen Yang is a very outstanding young man. Your sister will definitely have a very happy life with him in the future. If you really want to know more about the inside story, ask your boss for leave as soon as possible. Then come to Shanghai and ask your sister in person. Wen Jai could understand her son's feelings very well, but some things simply can't be explained over the phone in a short time. The only thing we can do is to get Yi Minghui's troops back as soon as possible. Perfect timing. I can make it to Chen Yang and Yi Qingye's engagement banquet. Okay, I understand. I'll write a report and ask my supervisor for leave right now. After Yi Minghui finished speaking, he stopped exchanging pleasantries with his mother. After hanging up the phone, I immediately took out a leave slip from the drawer, wrote down the reason for the leave, and got up to find the group leader. Fortunately, the barracks and the regimental headquarters cadre building are not far apart. A dozen minutes later, Yi Minghui appeared at the door of the regimental commander's room. Thump, thump, thump. Yi Minghui raised his hand and knocked on the door. "Come in." A deep, middle-aged voice came from inside the room. The next second, Yi Minghui pushed open the door and strode in. "Minghui, it's so late. Why aren't you going home to wash up and rest? What are you doing here looking for me? Could it be that something happened?" The regimental commander, Liao Feng, was a middle-aged man in his 40s with a square face, thick eyebrows, big eyes, dark skin, and a robust and muscular build. It was clear at a glance that he trained regularly. He has always paid close attention to Yi Minghui, a capable subordinate under his command, and has focused on cultivating him. At this particular time, he simply couldn't understand why the other party wanted to contact him. "Commander, I have already prepared the training syllabus for the camp, and distributed it to each company, so that the company commanders can strictly implement it. In addition, I have some family matters that I need to go back to deal with immediately, so I would like to ask the regimental commander for a few days' leave. I promise that I will return to the team immediately after I have dealt with this matter, and I will definitely not delay training. Yi Minghui stood with his legs together, raised his right hand, and saluted the regimental commander. Only then did he reveal his purpose. You trained so hard, you not only strive to be a model soldier in the camp, but you have also won honors for our regiment many times in competitions and military exercises. Now that something has happened at home, I have to approve this leave. How long do you need to stay? 10 days or half a month? Liao Feng's expression immediately hardened upon learning Yi Minghui's purpose. After a long pause, he immediately spoke. Commander, it won't take that long. It will take anywhere from 3 to 5 days to a week. I've already written the leave slip. I'm just waiting for your signature. Yi Minghui shook his head slightly. You rarely get a vacation, so spend more time at home with your parents and family. Give me your leave slip, and I'll approve 10 days of leave for you. Liao Feng's tone was firm, leaving no room for Yi Minghui to refuse. Thank you, Commander. Upon hearing this, Yi Minghui's face lit up with a hint of joy. Immediately, he handed the leave slip to Liao Feng with both hands. Liao Feng walked to his desk, picked up a pen, signed his name on the leave slip, and took out the regimental seal from the drawer to stamp it. Only after doing all this did he hand the leave slip back to Yi Minghui. After all, there are personnel on duty at the main gate of the camp 24 hours a day. Without a leave slip or pass, even if Yi Minghui is the deputy battalion commander, he cannot leave for too long. I'll have Xiao Li arrange a car to take you to the train station as quickly as possible. Liao Feng had considered everything very thoroughly and carefully arranged everything for Yi Minghui. Thank you, Commander Zai, Yi Minghui said with a grateful expression. After leaving the cadre building at the regimental headquarters, Yi Minghui ran all the way back to his dormitory to pack his luggage. They took off their military uniforms and put on civilian clothes. He was carrying a military green backpack, with his phone, wallet, leave slip, and ID in his pockets. Immediately afterwards, he headed towards the main gate of the camp. Before long, driver Xiao Li appeared in front of Yi Minghui in the regimental commander's personal vehicle. Battalion Commander Yi, get in the car. The regimental commander instructed me to make sure you get to the train station. Yes, thank you for making the trip. Yi Minghui expressed his gratitude. I will definitely complete the task assigned by the commander himself. Besides, Battalion Commander Yi has always taken good care of me. It is my honor, Li Mu, to see you off. Driver Xiao Li said with a smile. When the vehicle arrived at the camp gate, Yi Minghui showed his ID and leave slip to the comrade on duty. After receiving permission, the jeep drove out of the camp gate and sped towards the train station. The next morning at 7 o'clock, Chen Yang woke up in bed and looked down to see Yi Qingye sleeping soundly in his arms. He got up quietly and went into the bathroom to brush his teeth and wash up. Afterwards, I changed into my workout clothes and went out for my morning exercise. I ran around most of the neighborhood to warm up a bit. It turned out that Grandpa Jiang and his granddaughter Jiang Ruwei were practicing martial arts at their usual spot. However, this time Jiang Ruwei was not practicing Bagua Yulong Palm, but a kind of fist technique with wide-ranging and fierce attacks. Chen Yang gradually stopped and stood not far away, observing curiously. Jiang Ruwei wore a white training uniform, her fist techniques were agile, and her steps were steady. Each move contains the essence of offense and defense. After practicing the routine, Chen Yang felt both confused and impressed. Host detected observing Jiang Ruwei practicing Hung Quan, activating fist technique skill. Hung Quan proficiency plus 1000. Hung Quan level has been raised from beginner to elementary. Hung Quan beginner level 05000. The next second, a vast amount of memory suddenly surged into Chen Yang's mind, containing various moves, power generation techniques, and combat skills of Hung Quan, and the advantages and disadvantages of boxing techniques, and how to defeat an enemy in one move as quickly as possible. Soon, Chen Yang absorbed and digested this memory, eventually transforming it into his own skills, gaining him 7 or 8 years of Hung Quan combat experience out of thin air. Young friend Chen, it's been a while since I last saw you, and your energy and spirit are noticeably better than before. It seems you've been keeping up with your exercise routine lately and haven't slacked off. Grandpa Jiang noticed someone approaching out of the corner of his eye. Turning his head, he saw Chen Yang, whom he had met a few times before. Then he laughed out loud. Old Jiang truly lives up to his reputation as a martial arts master. His eyesight is exceptional. That's right, I've been exercising recently, and my physical fitness and endurance have improved significantly. Chen Yang nodded, and then flattered old Jiang. Chapters 202-203. Terrifying martial arts talent, shocking old master Jiang and Jiang Ruwei. Just now I saw you watching Ruwei practice her boxing intently. Could it be that you are interested in this boxing style? Mr. Jiang had a good impression of Chen Yang. He smiled kindly and then asked curiously, "Indeed. Master Jiang, may I ask which school or style of boxing Miss Jiang is practicing? Would this junior have the honor of learning even a move or two?" Chen Yang learned through the system that Jiang Ruwei was practicing Hung Quan. However, he presented himself as a novice in front of Elder Jiang, so he naturally wouldn't reveal his true identity. Hung Quan, this style of boxing originated from the Hung Mun and later evolved by many successors, resulting in many versions. The Hung Quan style that Ruwei just performed was taught to her by one of our martial arts masters. Unfortunately, she only learned the form but failed to grasp the essence of the fist. Therefore, its power was greatly reduced. However, it is more than enough to deal with 10 or 8 ordinary men. Young friend Chen, if you are interested, you might as well let my granddaughter teach you a move or two, so that you can have the ability to protect yourself. Old Jiang chuckled and said to Chen Yang, "Miss Jiang, is that all right?" Upon hearing this, Chen Yang's eyes lit up, and he looked at Jiang Ruwei with an expectant expression, asking a question. "If Mr. Chen is willing to learn, I can teach you a few tricks. After all, Master Hung has many disciples, and there is no rule against passing on his skills to outsiders." Jiang Ruwei had wanted to get to know Chen Yang for some time. I was just too embarrassed to ask. Now that her grandfather is helping her out, Jiang Ruwei naturally won't refuse. So at this moment she acted with grace and confidence, a smile on her face. "Then I'll have to trouble you, Miss Jiang." Chen Yang said politely, "Let me demonstrate a few moves first, and Mr. Chen can see how many he can remember." The words were spoken. Jiang Ruwei assumed a starting stance and then performed several moves with light, slow movements, looking quite heroic. "Miss Jiang, may I give it a try?" Chen Yang was eager to try. "No problem." Jiang Ruwei nodded with a smile. She had an outstanding talent for martial arts, and Master Hong taught her a set of basic introductory boxing techniques. She only read it once, but she remembered about 70–80% of it. After practicing for 3 days, he started playing quite well. In just 1 week, I mastered it. It was precisely because of his extraordinary talent that Master Hong was so generous in teaching him, imparting all his knowledge to him. Therefore, despite being a woman, Jiang Ruwei possesses a variety of martial arts skills, and her strength should not be underestimated. At this moment, Jiang Ruwei was also curious about whether Chen Yang had any talent for martial arts. Chen Yang walked to the open space in front. Jiang Ruwei's actions from just now flashed through his mind. It begins with the starting stance, followed by the execution of punches and footwork, demonstrating a simple routine. It was exactly the same as the rehearsal Jiang Ruwei had just done. Looking at the scene before me, old Jiang and Jiang Ruwei looked at each other, their eyes flashing with shock. Chen Yang learned the basic techniques of Hung Quan after just one glance, and he even performed them quite well. "Young friend Chen, I've heard you say before that you've never practiced martial arts, have you?" After a while, after recovering from his shock, old Jiang asked Chen Yang. "Yes, that's right, but I have a good memory. I can remember everything I see." Chen Yang smiled and replied, "No wonder you were able to perfectly replicate Ruwei's boxing style after only watching it once. With such extraordinary talent, you'll learn anything very quickly." Grandpa Jiang couldn't help but sigh. That's true. After all, a good memory makes learning any skill much easier. This is not Chen Yang boasting, but simply the truth. Not to mention, Chen Yang's physical coordination and brain processing abilities have now reached an astonishing level. "Mr. Chen, since that's the case, then I'll increase the intensity for you." Jiang Ruwei clearly intended to test Chen Yang. As soon as she finished speaking, she immediately unleashed a set of even more exquisite Hung Quan techniques, without slowing down at all. A few minutes later, Jiang Ruwei stopped moving, breathing heavily and covered in sweat. Without saying a word, Chen Yang immediately started practicing. It's almost a one-to-one replica, with the scene faithfully reproduced. Upon seeing this scene, both Elder Jiang and Jiang Ruwei were stunned. A prodigy, he's absolutely a prodigy. With such comprehension, He is bound to become a once-in-a-century genius in martial arts. Young friend Chen, you are so young. Have you ever considered becoming a disciple and spreading the spirit of Chinese martial arts? Grandpa Jiang was instantly flustered. He darted forward and rushed to Chen Yang, asking him excitedly, "Mr. Jiang, I'm really sorry. I'm interested in martial arts, but I only learn it to improve my health. Or perhaps we could improve our own combat capabilities so we can defend ourselves in case of danger. At the moment, we have no other ideas." Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, "That's such a pity. With your talent in martial arts, no martial art can stump you. As long as you are willing to devote yourself to training and study diligently, you will eventually be able to combine the strengths of all schools and become a grandmaster. At that time, I will become a martial arts master and promote Chinese martial arts internationally." Jiang Lao's face showed regret. "Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Jiang. I'm just an ordinary person. I just casually practice a few fancy moves to exercise and improve my fighting skills. As long as it's enough to protect my family, I'm already very content." Chen Yang said modestly, detected that the host has performed a miraculous feat in front of others, shocking Grandpa Jiang and Jiang Ruwei with his demonstration of Hung Quan. Hung Quan proficiency has been doubled. Hung Quan proficiency plus 2000. Hung Quan beginner level 2005,000. Soon, Chen Yang heard a system notification. "Mr. Jiang, Miss Jiang, it's getting late, so I'll head back now. I will definitely visit the martial arts school when I have time." After saying that, before Grandpa Jiang and Jiang Ruwei could react, Chen Yang turned and strode away. "Grandpa, Chen Yang's martial arts talent is terrifying. I have a feeling that if he focuses on learning martial arts, he will surpass my more than 10 years of hard training in less than half a year." Looking at Chen Yang's retreating figure, a deep sense of frustration was revealed in Jiang Ruwei's eyes. Yes, he has a photographic memory and an amazing ability to understand things. Such a monstrous talent could produce amazing results no matter what skill it is used to learn. No wonder he can live in this OCT villa area at such a young age. Grandpa Jiang nodded emphatically. "We must befriend this boy in the future. It will be entirely beneficial to our Jiang family." "Grandpa, don't worry. Your granddaughter can tell that he is very interested in martial arts. Based on this alone, the relationship between our Jiang family and him is destined to be quite deep. After all, we have such a powerful teacher in our family's martial arts school. No matter how talented he is, he still has to learn things one by one. Our Jiang family can take this opportunity to strengthen our ties with him." Jiang Ruwei's eyes shone brightly, revealing a powerful confidence. Walking home, Chen Yang was in an extremely pleasant mood. After all, his morning exercise paid off. He learned Hung Quan from Jiang Ruwei, which greatly improved his combat strength. Chapter 203, School Beauty Brother Yi Minghui is Calling. As Chen Yang previously stated, his main purpose in practicing martial arts was to improve his physical health, defend himself, and protect his family. As Qingyang Financial Investment Company begins to make its mark in Shanghai's financial circles, Chen Yang's life will enter another level. The struggle between social classes is, in essence, a struggle for fame and fortune. Many times, just because Chen Yang doesn't compete doesn't mean others won't come to him. After all, the market is only so big. Chen Yang has taken a bite out of someone else's share of the pie, so the other party certainly won't stand idly by. Competition is inevitable. Some people use above-board methods, while others resort to any means to achieve their goals. Chen Yang did not consider himself a good person. His guiding principle in life is, "I will not offend others unless they offend me. If they offend me, I will repay them 100-fold." It was with this in mind that Chen Yang took precautions and prepared for the worst. Later, he will hire professional bodyguards at high salaries to protect himself and his family 24 hours a day and prevent any accidents from happening. "I heard that my brother-in-law is serving in the military and holds a fairly important position. If I get the chance, I'll talk to him and see if I can get him to use his connections to recommend a group of highly capable retired veterans to form a professional bodyguard team. In this way, the safety of me and my family can be guaranteed." Chen Yang thought to himself. After taking a shower and changing his clothes at home, Chen Yang finished breakfast, and Lin Yuan drove the company's business vehicle to park in front of the villa. After saying goodbye to Yi Qingye and his parents, Chen Yang headed to the company. "I arrived at the company at nearly 9 o'clock. "Good morning, Mr. Chen." Assistant Bai Yuxuan made a cup of coffee and placed it on Chen Yang's desk. At the same time, I also put down several folders, as well as the most famous domestic financial newspapers and international financial publications. Freshly ground handmade coffee. It smells pretty good. Chen Yang smiled at Bai Yuxuan and said, Mr. Chen, this coffee was made fresh using a coffee machine and coffee beans purchased by the logistics department. The quality is even better than what you get from coffee shops outside. Please try it. If you have any preferences regarding the taste, I can adjust it at any time. Bai Yuxuan replied respectfully, Yes, that's thoughtful. You can go out now. I'll call you if I need anything. Chen Yang nodded with a smile. Upon hearing this, Bai Yuxuan bowed and left the office. Chen Yang then turned on his office computer, logged into his stock trading software, and checked the trading records from yesterday afternoon. According to his predetermined position, all the stocks in the account were successfully sold, bringing in a considerable profit. Chen Yang was not surprised by this. The title of God of Investment is well deserved. The stock market opened in the morning, and the A shares started to rise, with the overall situation looking very positive. Considering long-term benefits, Chen Yang divided the funds in two. Some of the funds are used to buy stocks that have long-term positive prospects and can generate substantial returns. The other part is used for short-term trading. Of course, to avoid confusion, he still made a point of separating company investments from his personal investments. An hour later, Chen Yang asked his assistant to call Ning Hao to his office. Knock, knock, knock. Soon there was a knock on the door. Come in, Chen Yang called out. The next moment the office door was pushed open, and Ning Hao strode in, standing respectfully in front of Chen Yang. Boss, you wanted to see me. Ning Hao greeted Chen Yang with great respect. Sit. Chen Yang nodded, gesturing for Ning Hao to sit down and speak. Ning Hao nodded slightly, sat down in the chair in front of the desk, leaned forward, straightened his back, and showed an attitude of always listening to Chen Yang's orders. These are the stocks I selected as having investment value based on market analysis. Relevant investment advice is also marked on it. Take this to the investment department and proceed with the investment plan accordingly. If you don't understand anything, feel free to ask me anytime. Chen Yang took out a document he had just printed out and handed it directly to Ning Hao. Upon hearing this, Ning Hao's face immediately flashed with excitement. He knew all too well Chen Yang's investment prowess. Therefore, the other party rigorously selected stocks with investment value, which, to put it bluntly, were the reference answers given to Ning Hao in advance. As long as you copy it exactly, you will never lose money on your investment. Don't worry, boss. I will definitely follow your instructions strictly. Ning Hao made his promise to Chen Yang almost without hesitation. Okay, go ahead and get busy. It's stock market open now, and trading is still possible. Therefore, for those working in the financial industry, every second counts. Before we knew it, it was noon. Chen Yang asked Lin Yuan to drive Yi Qingye and her parents to a restaurant near the company, where they had a meal together. After a short rest, Chen Yang went to a high-end boutique, intending to personally select a few suitable clothes for his parents. Dad, Mom, what do you think of these items? Chen Yang pointed to the clothes in front of him and asked. The fabric and design lines clearly indicate that this is a high-end product. Your mother and I don't know much about goods, so you can just pick a few items for us. Chen Shan didn't know much about these so-called designer clothes. Therefore, he didn't have any opinions of his own, and instead told Chen Yang to just buy a few items according to his aesthetic sense. Uncle, I think these pieces are quite nice and suit your taste. If you wore them, you would definitely look several years younger. Auntie, I've picked out these for you. You can try them on. I think they'll look amazing on you. At this time, Yi Qingye played a crucial role. Her aesthetic sense and her vision were perfectly displayed, causing Chen Shan and Wu Yan to exchange a satisfied smile. Okay, then let's listen to Qingye. The process of buying clothes went smoothly, and Chen Yang eventually paid by swiping his card. Afterwards, Chen Yang took his parents for a stroll before returning home. They hadn't even sat down to rest for long. Just then, Yi Qingye's phone suddenly rang. Curious, she took it out of her bag, and when she saw the caller ID on her phone's screen, her expression immediately froze. Chen Yang clearly noticed Yi Qingye's expression, so he immediately asked, Qingye, what's wrong? Who called? It's my brother, Yi Qingye said softly. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang's expression also showed surprise. He never expected that Yi Qingye's brother would call at this time. Go ahead and accept it. We're getting engaged the day after tomorrow. Aunt Wen must have told him about us. What is meant to be will be, and what is meant to be will be. Chen Yang smiled slightly and comforted Yi Qingye. After listening, Yi Qingye felt that it made a lot of sense. So she took a deep breath and slowly pressed the answer button. Qingye, where are you? The call was just connected. A deep, yet extremely authoritative voice came from the other side. I'm at home. Brother, you're back from your vacation. Yi Qingye tried to calm herself down and said, Send me the address. You stay there now and don't go anywhere. A slightly domineering tone came from the other end of the phone again. Chapter 204, Yi Minghui's Arrival, Bloodline Suppression. Good. Yi Qingye knew her brother's temper very well, so she dared not disobey him. So she immediately sent the villa's address to Yi Minghui. The call ended quickly. Chen Yang, my brother has probably already returned from his leave in the army. He has a rather fiery temper, so if he says something unpleasant to you, please don't take it to heart. He's always spoiled me since I was little. Now that he's suddenly found out I'm getting engaged, he must be having a hard time accepting it. Let's talk things out slowly later, and please don't resort to violence. Yi Qingye was overwhelmed with the thought that her brother would be coming soon to meet Chen Yang. Given his temper, he is very likely to take action against Chen Yang. Therefore, Yi Qingye gave Chen Yang a heads-up beforehand, telling him not to take her brother too seriously. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for Yi Qingye to be caught in the middle. Don't worry, no matter what, I won't be angry with my future brother-in-law. After all, there's something I need his help with. Chen Yang chuckled and explained. It's like a pillow being delivered just when you're about to fall asleep. In the morning, Chen Yang was still thinking about how to get his brother-in-law to help him find a group of retired elite soldiers to form a professional bodyguard team. I learned in the afternoon that my brother-in-law was back from his vacation and was on his way home, although the other party may have ill intentions. But Chen Yang believed that with his current abilities, he could definitely resolve the issue properly and also persuade his brother-in-law to help him. Less than half an hour later, Yi Qingye's phone rang again. It turned out that Yi Minghui, the brother-in-law, had arrived at the entrance of the villa community, but was stopped by the security guards. Upon seeing this, Chen Yang immediately called the property management and asked them to let them pass. Not long after, a black Mercedes-Benz G-Class appeared at the villa's entrance. The car slowly came to a stop. The car door opened, and a burly man who was 1.8 meters tall stepped out of the car. He had very handsome features, a chiseled face, a wheatish complexion, and incredibly sharp eyes. At first glance, he has the image of a tough, steely man. The person who arrived was Yi Qingye's brother, Yi Minghui. After Yi Minghui stopped, he glanced at the villa. Then he walked to the door and rang the doorbell. At the same time, inside the villa's lobby, Yi Qingye immediately got up and headed for the door. As the door was pushed open, Yi Qingye immediately recognized her brother Yi Minghui's face. Elder brothers, Yi Qingye shouted excitedly. Little sister, it's been a long time. Yi Minghui's gaze fell on his younger sister, scrutinizing her closely. I noticed that her complexion was rosy, and her figure was more voluptuous than before. They've clearly been living a comfortable life lately. Otherwise, they certainly wouldn't be in this state. Brother, come in quickly. I'll introduce you to someone. The words were spoken. Before Yi Minghui could react, Yi Qingye had already grabbed his arm and dragged him into the villa. Soon, the brother and sister arrived in the hall. Chen Yang and his parents all cast curious glances at Yi Minghui. Seeing this, Yi Qingye immediately stepped forward and introduced the situation with a smile. Uncle Aunt Chen Yang, he is my older brother Yi Minghui. I've been serving in the military all year round, and I can only reunite with my parents during my leave. If we were to ask ordinary people who admire them the most, it would undoubtedly be soldiers. After learning Yi Minghui's identity, Chen Shan and Wu Yan looked at him with immediate respect. Brother, let me introduce you. This is Uncle Chen and this is Aunt Wu. And this is my boyfriend, Chen Yang. Yi Qingye then gave a brief introduction. Yi Minghui gained a preliminary understanding of the Chen family of three. Uncle, Aunt, I received a call from my mother last night saying that my sister is about to get engaged. So I specifically asked my supervisor for leave and rushed back overnight. I apologize for the intrusion in visiting without having prepared any gifts. Yi Minghui looked at Chen Shan and Wu Yan, a couple, and said somewhat embarrassedly, No need to be so polite. Son Qingye, you two can talk things over slowly. Your parents will go wash some fruit for you. After saying that, Chen Shan and Wu Yan got up and left. Having been through similar experiences, they could tell that Yi Minghui had rushed back from the army on leave because of his sister's engagement. There is certainly much more to say. It was clearly inappropriate for them to stay any longer, so they made up an excuse and got up to go to the kitchen. Good. Chen Yang nodded, indicating that he understood his parents' meaning. Soon only Chen Yang, Yi Qingye, and Yi Minghui remained in the hall. Brother Yi, you must have had a long and tiring journey. You must have many questions and concerns. Why don't we sit down and talk about it? Chen Yang smiled faintly, looked at Yi Minghui and said softly, Good. Yi Minghui met Chen Yang's gaze and slowly nodded. To be honest, Yi Minghui was quite interested in Chen Yang, because he learned from his mother that Chen Yang was not from a privileged background, and his family was not considered wealthy. The reason I have achieved what I have today is entirely due to my own abilities and hard work. This means that Chen Yang is a capable person. Yi Minghui was quite familiar with his younger sister, Yi Qingye's temperament. Although she wasn't as arrogant and domineering as a princess, she was pampered and had high standards. Ordinary men simply cannot catch her eye. Now she suddenly says she wants to get engaged to Chen Yang. One thing is certain, Chen Yang must perfectly match her expectations of a partner. Either be handsome, talented, capable, and able to provide emotional value. Either the other person has a fatal attraction for her, which is why she would insist on marrying him. Yi Minghui's first impression of Chen Yang, handsome and gentle. At least in terms of appearance, Chen Yang definitely scores high marks. In other aspects, however, Yi Minghui still needs further investigation. As the group took their seats, Yi Minghui looked at his younger sister, Yi Qingye. Little sister, tell me, I've never heard of you dating anyone before. How come you're already pregnant? I think you need to explain this matter. Faced with her brother's questioning, Yi Qingye instantly felt immense pressure and was speechless for a moment, not knowing where to begin. Seeing this, Chen Yang promptly spoke up to explain. Brother Yi, this is all my fault. I've always had a crush on Qingye, but I never had the courage to confess my feelings to her. Until one night more than 2 months ago, Qingye and her best friend Su Menjiao went to the bar where I worked part-time for drinks, and something unexpected happened during that time. In the end, we had sex, which led to Qingye's pregnancy. Later, I went to Qingye more than once, wanting to apologize to her and confess my feelings, but she deliberately avoided me. Just recently, she came to me and said she was 2 months pregnant. That's why we cleared up the misunderstanding and officially started dating. Chen Yang told Yi Minghui the whole story, from beginning to end, with sincerity in his words. Chapter 205. The intimidating power of the eldest grandson of the Yi family proposes a duel. After learning the whole story, a shadow crossed Yi Minghui's eyes, and he said in a harsh tone, Who on earth has the audacity to set a trap for my little sister? Yi Qingye then slowly spoke, Brother, I've already had someone investigate this matter privately. It should just be an accident, and there is no trace of any other family plotting behind it. I never expected that spending a night with Chen Yang would result in me getting pregnant. Fortunately, this made me realize Chen Yang's feelings for me. Yi Minghui shook his head slightly. Little sister, I never believe in coincidences. You're studying in Shanghai, and all those families in Kyoto know that. Although they don't openly interfere, who can guarantee they won't have some bad intentions behind the scenes? Don't forget, although our Yi family seems to be at the height of its power in Kyoto, aren't we also becoming an obstacle to the upward mobility of some people? There are countless people who want to see the Yi family make a fool of themselves. I'll have someone reinvestigate this matter later. If it was an accident, that's fine, but if someone deliberately set this up, I will definitely not let them get away with it. Yi Minghui knew that his younger sister, Yi Qingye, was kind-hearted and didn't like to think the worst about things. But Yi Minghui is different. He is the eldest grandson of the Yi family, and the elder brother of the younger generation in the Yi family. With so many younger siblings, each one needs his support and protection. Therefore, when his grandfather asked him to choose his path, Yi Minghui chose to join the army without hesitation. Because the Yi family originally rose to power through the military, most of their resources and connections are within the military. If Yi Minghui wants to become the pillar of the Yi family, he must undergo the tempering and training in the military. Only in this way can he possibly gain the recognition of the uncles and elders in the army. In the future, he will become the pillar of the Yi family in the military. Yi Minghui did not disappoint his grandfather and father. After graduating from military academy, he devoted himself to grassroots units. From the Fierce Tiger Company to the Steel Knife Company, and then to the Special Operations Battalion. Every step of his growth was achieved through his own hard work and sweat, earning him the respect of his superiors and the soldiers under his command. His promotions and the medals he received were not based on his status as the eldest grandson of the Yi family. Instead, they rely on their own hard work and genuine skills. Therefore, compared to Yi Qingye's innocent and carefree nature, Yi Minghui appears to be more mature and rational. They also have a more thorough understanding of various power struggles and the conspiracies and intrigues lurking in the shadows. In his view, the fact that Yi Qingye was drugged was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Fortunately, the person who had a relationship with Yi Qingye and became pregnant did not follow the original script. Otherwise, Yi Qingye's innocence and reputation would surely be ruined. Brother, I'll listen to you on this. Yi Qingye didn't dwell on this matter too much. In her view, her brother must have had his reasons for doing this. After all, no matter what, her brother would never harm her. Chen Yang, to be honest, I'm really curious about how you managed to convince my parents, and even my grandparents, to agree to your engagement with my sister. Even though my sister is pregnant out of wedlock, this matter is extremely easy for our Yi family to resolve. The only possibility is that you have gained their approval. Yi Minghui's eyes were bright as he carefully examined Chen Yang. It was as if they wanted to see what skills he had. Brother Yi, my feelings for Qingye are genuine. To be honest, I had no idea who my uncle and aunt were until I officially met them. At that time, I had only one thought in my mind. I wanted to work hard to earn money and give Qingye and the child in her belly a better life. To this end, I borrowed money from my roommates to invest in the stock market. I was lucky enough to make a lot of money, and that's when I finally discovered my talent. It is precisely because of this that I have enough confidence to let Qingye take me to meet my uncle and aunt. I gradually gained the approval of my uncles and aunts, and even Mr. Yi and Mrs. Yi. Chen Yang smiled slightly and then said, "Talent, what talent?" Yi Minghui couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. "Amazing learning ability." Chen Yang replied with a smile. These words were spoken. Yi Qingye, standing to the side, couldn't help but boast to Yi Minghui. "Brother, you don't know yet. Chen Yang is simply a genius. In just over half a month, his initial investment in the stock market grew from a little over $1 million to several hundred million. Not only did he establish his own financial investment company, but he also gained the favor of Qin Dong, the eldest son of the Qin family, a top wealthy family in Shanghai, who invested 500 million yuan to cooperate with him. A few days ago, my uncle, cousin, and young Master Qin all agreed to invest 1 billion yuan in his company, vying to become his shareholders. Besides investing, Chen Yang also has skills in cooking, martial arts, tea ceremony, chess, and antique appraisal. How could I not be tempted by such an all-around amazing male god? Upon hearing this, Yi Minghui's eyes showed shock and disbelief. As we all know, human energy is limited. For an ordinary person, it is already quite remarkable to master certain skills and become proficient in them throughout their life. And Chen Yang is so young, yet he has mastered so many skills. It is clear that his learning ability is indeed outstanding. Thinking about this, Yi Minghui developed a strong interest in Chen Yang. Is Chen Yang really that amazing? Of course. If you don't believe me, you can stay for dinner later. I'll have Chen Yang cook a sumptuous meal for you, guaranteed to satisfy your appetite and leave you wanting more. Yi Qingye nodded emphatically and said with a serious expression, even though Yi Minghui is her own brother, he cannot arbitrarily question Chen Yang's abilities. After all, Chen Yang is very capable in all aspects, especially in terms of cooking skills. Even her parents and grandparents personally verified it. Whether it's a mule or a horse, we'll know once we take it out for a spin. Little sister, didn't you say Chen Yang knows martial arts? Simple, let him spar with me a couple of times. If he can defeat me, then I will agree with what you just said and forgive him for what he did before. But if you collude with him to deceive me, then I'm sorry. I may not attend your engagement party. Yi Minghui's eyes darted around, and it was unclear what mischief he was plotting. He was originally a soldier and trained in the military for many years. His physical fitness and martial arts skills are far superior to those of ordinary people. If Chen Yang didn't have a martial arts background, with his small frame, he might not even be able to withstand a single move from Yi Minghui. At that time, Yi Minghui might also take the opportunity to teach Chen Yang a lesson during the competition. After all, no matter what, Chen Yang did get Yi Minghui's most beloved younger sister, Yi Qingye, pregnant. Based on this alone, Yi Minghui would never let this kid off easily. To put it bluntly, Yi Minghui deliberately proposed the duel to make Chen Yang suffer some physical pain and teach him a lesson. Chapter 206. If you want to fight, then let's fight. Yi Zhaohua's worries. Brother, how could you do this? Yi Qingye could clearly see at a glance that Yi Minghui had ill intentions. He immediately expressed his dissatisfaction. What, you were just praising Chen Yang to my face, saying how outstanding he is. Right now, I'm just letting him prove his abilities, and you're already defending him. Could it be that he is merely a figurehead? A hint of frivolity flashed in Yi Minghui's eyes, and he couldn't help but chuckle. Brother, I won't allow you to slander Chen Yang like that. We can try a different approach. We don't necessarily have to resort to fists. After all, fists and feet have no eyes. If you get injured in the fight, wouldn't that damage the harmony? Besides, Chen Yang and I are getting engaged the day after tomorrow. Do you really need to injure Chen Yang to be happy? Yi Qingye pouted and said with great dissatisfaction, Don't worry, it's just a simple spar. I'll be careful not to hurt him. Chen Yang, do you dare to compete? Say something. Are you just going to hide behind my sister and watch us two argue endlessly because of you? Yi Minghui offered a word of comfort to Yi Qingye. Then he immediately looked at Chen Yang and went at him. Faced with Yi Minghui's provocation, Chen Yang was not angry at all. Instead, he felt a surge of excitement from the bottom of his heart. Looking back on his previous sparring sessions with retired soldier Wang Fangzheng, he gained a lot of experience during the actual combat. However, Fang Zheng had been retired for many years, and with his advanced age, his physical functions had declined significantly. Yi Minghui, however, is different. He was in his prime, and all his physical functions were at their peak. Chen Yang had a premonition that he would gain a lot from the fight against him. Therefore, Chen Yang certainly wouldn't miss such a rare opportunity to exchange skills. The thought came to mind. Chen Yang's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Then he met Yi Minghui's gaze, and a confident smile appeared on his lips. Brother Yi, if you want to fight, then I will fight. I would appreciate your guidance, Brother Yi. These words were spoken. Yi Minghui's eyes lit up immediately. Okay, just because of what you said, we'll stop here and make sure you don't get hurt. To be honest, Yi Minghui didn't expect Chen Yang to be so bold as to accept the challenge directly. Soldiers are always known for their swift and decisive actions. What I hate most is that kind of indecisive, cowardly attitude before even starting a fight. Therefore, Chen Yang's attitude at this moment won Yi Minghui's favor. Chen Yang, stop messing around. I know you know martial arts and you're quite skilled, but my brother is not an ordinary soldier. After graduating from military academy, he went straight to the grassroots level. He started in a reconnaissance company with excellent military skills. Later, because of his outstanding military physical fitness, he was transferred to participate in the Special Forces selection. He stood out among countless elite soldiers and eventually became the deputy battalion commander of the Special Operations Battalion. His skill is definitely not just for show. It's all the killing techniques he's honed through countless trials in the military. A slight mistake could cause damage to your body. Yi Qingye walked to Chen Yang's side, tugged at his arm hard, and then said with a serious expression. Their words revealed their deep concern for Chen Yang's personal safety. It wasn't that she didn't believe in Chen Yang's abilities. However, his elder brother Yi Minghui's strength is undoubtedly much greater. Chen Yang's chances of winning against his brother are slim. On the contrary, he might even get injured. This is a scenario that Yi Qingye does not want to see. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang's lips curled up slightly. He reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Yi Qingye's forehead, offering a confident reassurance. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. When have you ever seen me, or done anything you weren't sure about? Yi Qingye was taken aback when Chen Yang said that. After a long pause, he nodded and said, Okay, then be careful and don't overexert yourself. If you're really no match for my brother, just admit defeat. Losing to him isn't shameful. Clearly, from Yi Qingye's perspective, Chen Yang is indeed a skilled martial artist, but he could never be a match for her brother, Yi Minghui. Chen Yang simply smiled and offered no further explanation. Due to space constraints, Chen Yang and Yi Minghui walked out of the villa and came to a spacious open space in front of the door. After a few quick wrist exercises and stretching, the competition officially began. Come on, let me see just how capable you really are. Yi Minghui stood still with his legs shoulder-width apart, then assumed a fighting stance. With both fists placed in front of the chest, one in front and one behind, it can be used for both offense and defense. All right, Brother Yi, then I won't stand on ceremony. Chen Yang chuckled softly. The words were spoken. He pushed off the ground with both legs and rushed towards Yi Minghui in one stride. The distance between the two was instantly reduced. Upon getting close, Chen Yang immediately unleashed basic Hung Kuan techniques, launching an attack on Yi Minghui's chest. The punches were extremely fast, powerful, and forceful. So fast. Upon seeing this, Yi Minghui's eyes narrowed and he was shocked. However, years of training in the military gave him a reaction speed far exceeding that of ordinary people. Realizing that Chen Yang was no ordinary person, he immediately abandoned his contempt. Immediately, he turned to the side. He narrowly escaped Chen Yang's punch. But Chen Yang had clearly anticipated this, and seeing that his first attack had failed, he launched another attack. Hung Kuan's moves are powerful and forceful, characterized by wide, sweeping movements. This made Yi Minghui feel the pressure instantly. However, Yi Minghui was no pushover. After graduating from military academy, he devoted himself to grassroots work, living, eating, and training alongside the officers and soldiers. With his daring and fighting spirit, he became a member of the Special Operations Force and served as a training instructor. His military skills are absolutely among the best in the military. I'd like to see whether your fists are harder or my methods are stronger. This thought came to mind. Yi Minghui's eyes flashed with intense fighting spirit. He no longer chose to dodge, but instead faced the challenge head-on. The next moment, he used the military grappling techniques to try and subdue Chen Yang. The two sides exchanged blows, going back and forth for over a dozen rounds in just a few seconds. The speed was so fast that Yi Qingye, who was standing to the side, was dazzled. Wow, that's amazing. My brother and Chen Yang are evenly matched. Looking at the scene before me, Yi Qingye covered her mouth with her hand and immediately exclaimed in surprise. These visceral, head-on combat scenes are even more thrilling than action sequences in TV dramas, making your blood boil and your heart race. Good lad, you do have some skill. No wonder you dared to challenge me. Until this moment, Yi Minghui then realized that Chen Yang's confidence actually stemmed from his own strength. Although Yi Minghui held back, he dared not unleash his true fighting power. But through his exchange with Chen Yang just now, he could clearly sense that Chen Yang's martial arts were not just for show, nor were they the kind of routines he was used to. Instead, it refers to traditional martial arts that can be truly used in actual combat and unleash terrifying destructive power. It's somewhat similar to the fighting style of traditional Chinese martial arts. Similarly, Yi Minghui could clearly sense that Chen Yang had not unleashed his full fighting power, but had instead been concealing his true strength. During their exchange, Yi Minghui noticed that Chen Yang had changed his attack points more than once. It's important to understand that in a battle between experts, even a fraction of a second can create an opening, leading to a fatal blow. However, Chen Yang was able to change his attack position repeatedly, and yet he acted with such ease. This shows that Chen Yang's strength is definitely not as simple as it appears on the surface. Chapter 207, Military Grappling Techniques, Beginner Level. Black Dragon 18 Hands, Beginner Level. Host detected engaging in fierce combat with Special Forces instructor Yi Minghui. Gained insights while using Hung Kuan. Hung Kuan Proficiency plus 1000. Hung Kuan Beginner Level, 3500. Detected that the host has discerned Yi Minghui's use of military grappling techniques and can replicate them after a single glance. Activate the military grappling skill. Military grappling skills proficiency plus 1000. Military grappling skill level upgraded to beginner 05000. Just then, a virtual light screen suddenly popped up in front of Chen Yang's eyes, and a system notification sounded in his ears. The next second, a flood of memories instantly surged into Chen Yang's mind, filled with grappling techniques, skills, points of leverage, and practical combat tips. Then it was absorbed and digested by Chen Yang, and finally transformed into his own combat skills. Good heavens! This not only improved Chen Yang's Hung Kuan skills, but also allowed him to directly learn military grappling skills from Yi Minghui for free. They've made an incredible fortune. This competition has been more beneficial than I expected. My brother-in-law is great. He's really good at getting along with people. Chen Yang was secretly delighted. At this moment, Yi Minghui's gaze toward Chen Yang gradually became serious. Keep in mind that he was a Special Forces veteran who had undergone rigorous training for many years. But even so, his combat skills were simply no match for Chen Yang. This completely ignited his warlike spirit. Chen Yang, I'm going to get serious now. That's all. Yi Minghui took a step forward, his figure like a tiger descending a mountain, and pounced on Chen Yang. They can use both fists and feet, without any restrictions. Their combat power has increased several levels in an instant. Good timing. Chen Yang was not afraid at all, and directly met Yi Minghui's attack head-on. Bang, bang, bangs. The two engaged in a brutal close-quarters fight, constantly shifting between offense and defense. Yi Minghui thought that once he got serious, he would soon be able to settle the score with Chen Yang. But the reality was that he was overthinking things. Chen Yang's combat power has also increased, and he is even subtly suppressing him, making him feel unable to cope for a while. Yi Minghui's breathing became rapid, and his physical strength was rapidly declining. At this rate of collisions, Yi Minghui will surely be exhausted within minutes. In contrast, Chen Yang remained calm, his breathing deep and even. At first glance, he looks like he has plenty of energy and stamina. We cannot delay, we must act swiftly and decisively. With this in mind, Yi Minghui began to use more advanced fighting techniques. However, in the brief moment he was distracted, Chen Yang seized the opportunity and used military grappling techniques to defeat the enemy with a single move. In just a moment, Yi Minghui was brought under control. Upon seeing this, Yi Minghui was completely stunned. He lost. Moreover, Chen Yang subdued him directly using military grappling techniques. How could you possibly be a military grappler? Yi Minghui looked at Chen Yang in disbelief and quickly asked him a question. Brother Yi, didn't you just use that on me? I have a photographic memory. I can remember things after just one glance, so I thought I'd put it to use in real combat. You just happened to create an opening, which gave me the chance to defeat you in one move. After saying that, Chen Yang took the initiative to loosen his grip on Yi Minghui, stepped back, and explained with a smile. The system detected that the host has applied his knowledge effectively and defeated Yi Minghui using military grappling techniques. The proficiency level of military grappling techniques has been doubled. Military grappling skills proficiency plus 2000. Military grappling techniques beginner level 2500. At the same time, Chen Yang immediately received a notification from the system, and his proficiency increased dramatically again, which surprised and delighted him. At this time, after hearing what Chen Yang said, Yi Minghui was completely stunned. No, what do you mean? I learned this military grappling technique after years of hard training in the army. You think you can learn it in one glance? Is this reasonable? Is there no law or justice left? Yi Minghui felt he could not accept this at all. Are you kidding me? How could anyone possibly learn and apply what they've learned just by glancing at it? Impossible, absolutely impossible. I would never believe it even if you killed me. Yi Minghui was devastated. Brother, you've already lost. Why are you still trying to cheat? On the side, Yi Qingye jogged forward and immediately spoke up after hearing her brother Yi Minghui's words. Little sister, this isn't about who wins or loses. Chen Yang said that he could learn the grappling techniques that I had spent several months learning in the army just by looking at them. I admit he's very strong, but he couldn't possibly be this monstrous, could he? Yi Minghui shook his head, looking at Chen Yang with disbelief. Brother Yi, I know it's hard for you to accept right now, but that's the truth. If you don't believe me, you can demonstrate a set of military boxing techniques on the spot, or show off some more complex skills. Perhaps I can perfectly replicate it. Chen Yang smiled faintly and said. Seeing Chen Yang's confident demeanor, Yi Minghui immediately became skeptical. So he immediately said, Fine, I'd like to see just how monstrous your talent really is. Next, I'll teach you a set of fighting techniques that's been banned in the military, called the Black Dragon 18 Hands. If you're so capable, then beat me up right in front of me later. The words were spoken. Yi Minghui strode to the open space in front and assumed a fighting stance. The next second, he smoothly executed the combination technique of the Black Dragon 18 Hands. This fighting style includes punches, kicks, palm strikes, and grappling techniques, possessing immense destructive power and astonishing might. After completing a set of fighting techniques, Yi Minghui was panting heavily. It was clear that he had really given it his all. A moment later, Yi Minghui looked at Chen Yang. Have you finished watching? Come on, show me how much you've learned. Chen Yang closed his eyes, recalling the moves Yi Minghui had just demonstrated. Host detected observing and learning the Black Dragon 18 Hands. Skill. Black Dragon 18 Hands. Skill activated. Proficiency plus 1000. Black Dragon 18 Hands level upgraded to beginner. Black Dragon 18 Hands beginner level 05000. The combination moves. power generation techniques, burst points, and advantages and disadvantages of the Black Dragon 18 hands. Technique flashed through Chen Yang's mind. Ultimately, he absorbed and digested it, transforming it into his own practical experience. A few seconds later, Chen Yang opened his eyes, and his entire demeanor changed abruptly. He stood tall and straight, like a pine tree or a bell. Power originates from the ground, and the waist and stance become one. In both movement and stillness, there seemed to be a certain power, making one's hair stand on end and feel a sense of danger. Yi Minghui, in particular, felt it most acutely. In a short moment, Chen Yang's aura underwent an astonishing transformation. The starting stance of the Black Dragon 18 hands is followed by various combination moves. Every move, every technique, was as precise as if it were from a textbook. What's most terrifying is that when Chen Yang practices, it not only has form, but also carries a certain astonishing momentum. Chen Yang's movements were not clumsy at all. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. Not only did it perfectly replicate Yi Minghui's movements, but it could even be said that it was more imposing than Yi Minghui's. Seeing this scene before him, Yi Minghui's mouth gaped open, and he was completely stunned. Turn out to be, there really is such a terrifying talent in this world. Photographic memory, amazing comprehension. He's an absolute prodigy. It's jaw-dropping and completely overturns expectations. Chapter 208, A Prodigy. Yi Minghui's shock and astonishment. Host's perfect execution of the Black Dragon 18 hands has been detected, shocking Yi Minghui. Skill proficiency critical hit bonus increased by 1,000. Black Dragon 18 hands beginner level, 2,500. The system notification sounded in Chen Yang's ear again. He looked at Yi Minghui and immediately saw the shocked and incredulous expression on the other's face. After a moment, Chen Yang smiled slightly and asked Yi Minghui, "Brother Yi, how am I learning?" "A prodigy. He's absolutely a prodigy. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed that your learning ability was so amazing." Yi Minghui took a deep breath, and it took him a while to adjust his mindset. The look in her eyes when she looked at Chen Yang again now held a hint of admiration and awe. Clearly, he was completely stunned by the talent that Chen Yang had displayed. "Haha, Brother Yi, you flatter me. Now that the sparring is over, why don't we go home and sit for a while? You rarely take a vacation and come back here, so you and Qingya must have a lot to talk about. You two can take your time chatting. I'll go cook, and you can have a good taste of my cooking later." Chen Yang remained calm and composed, offering a serene smile. It was as if he had anticipated this outcome from the very beginning. "Okay, that's fine." Yi Minghui did not refuse. His impression of Chen Yang underwent a stunning 180-degree change at that moment. He finally understood why Chen Yang had won his sister's heart so much, and why their relationship had progressed to the point of engagement. Even his parents and grandparents would agree to let him get engaged to his sister. Ultimately, there is only one reason. Chen Yang is an absolute prodigy. His talent allows him to operate without relying on family background, resources, or connections. They can still fight their way up from the bottom to the top. Given the Yi family's current development and the power and resources they possess, they have no need to rely on marriage alliances to consolidate their position. Just what we need is a capable and decisive son-in-law to help the Yi family cover their losses. Furthermore, given that my younger sister is currently pregnant, it's only natural that we get married because of the pregnancy. In short, this marriage was just right for the Yi family. Villa lobby. Yi Minghui and Yi Qingya, brother and sister, sat on the sofa chatting. They talked about recent events around them and their experiences with Chen Yang. Yi Minghui then realized that his guess was indeed correct. Chen Yang is absolutely a monstrous genius. Given time, it will surely become a true dragon, admired and revered by countless people. Inside the kitchen, Chen Yang tied on an apron, took out ingredients from the refrigerator, and prepared to start cooking. Host detected cooking. Knife skills proficiency plus 500. Culinary skills proficiency plus 500. Advanced knife skills, 60010000. Advanced culinary skills, 60010000. More than an hour later, 6 dishes and 1 soup freshly prepared. Among them are 2 signature dishes from Divine Recipes: Divine Tomato Scrambled Eggs and Divine Braised Pork. After the food was placed on the table, Yi Minghui was pulled to sit down at the table by his younger sister, Yi Qingya. "Brother, let me tell you, Chen Yang's cooking skills are really amazing. His cooking is just as good as that of Michelin-starred chefs. Since you've come all this way, you absolutely must try it. I guarantee you'll want to come back for more. I'll let you in on a secret. After Grandpa, Grandma, and Mom and Dad all tried Chen Yang's cooking, they all raved about it. Yi Qingye said excitedly, "Really? Then I'll have to give it a good try." Looking at the table of delicious-looking and beautifully presented dishes, Yi Minghui was filled with anticipation. "Brother Yi, let's start eating. We're all family, no need to be so polite." Chen Yang came out of the kitchen. Then he handed a bowl of rice and chopsticks to Yi Minghui with a smile. "Okay, then I won't stand on ceremony." The words were spoken. Yi Minghui took the bowl and chopsticks and began to taste the food. He underwent a lot of training in the military, which resulted in him having a much larger appetite than the average person. Meat and white rice are his daily staple foods. Upon seeing the braised pork on the table, Yi Minghui picked it up almost without hesitation. Then he put it in his mouth and ate it in big bites. The meat is fatty but not greasy, tender and flavorful. The sauce has a hint of sweetness, but it's not too cloying. When you chew it, the flavor of the braised pork bursts on your tongue and in your mouth, becoming more and more fragrant with each bite, leaving you wanting more. The taste was so delicious that Yi Minghui couldn't stop eating it. Eat heartily, eat meat heartily. At this moment, efficiency was perfectly embodied in Yi Minghui. This tastes absolutely delicious. It's definitely the best braised pork I've ever had. After finishing a bowl of rice, Yi Minghui was still somewhat unsatisfied. But at this moment, his expression was one of extreme excitement, and he spared no praise for Chen Yang's cooking skills, showering him with compliments. "Brother Yi, eat more if you like. I've made a lot, and I guarantee you'll be satisfied." Chen Yang smiled slightly and said, "Brother, how was it? I told you long ago, no one can resist the food made by Chen Yang himself." Yi Qingye couldn't stop smiling. "You're right, Chen Yang's cooking skills are indeed amazing, several times better than some top chefs. If he opened his own restaurant, I guarantee it would be packed every day, and it would be hard to get a meal." Yi Minghui nodded in agreement. "That's what I think too. However, opening a restaurant is out of the question. He used his secret hot pot soup base and dipping sauce recipe to open a hot pot restaurant with my best friend Su Menjiao. The business was booming, and it was always packed. Not only that, he also opened a hot pot restaurant in his hometown county, and had his relatives help manage it, and he made quite a bit of money from it." Yi Qingye's eyes brightened slightly as she spoke to her brother. "The restaurant business is indeed very profitable, but it's quite tiring. Compared to Chen Yang's main business of financial investment, these profits are less than a fraction of his annual income. But then again, Chen Yang is so capable that he can thrive in any industry." Yi Minghui said with an appreciative look. "That's true. I don't want him to exhaust himself just to make money. After all, money is just an external thing. Enough is enough. You can never earn it all." Yi Qingye's Buddhist philosophy. The atmosphere at the table was very harmonious. Everyone chatted and laughed and enjoyed the meal immensely. After dinner, Yi Minghui drank 2 cups of tea, and seeing that it was getting late, he got up to say goodbye. After gaining a comprehensive understanding of Chen Yang, he felt very reassured. At least Yi Qingye, the younger sister, had truly found her soulmate, which is why she was willing to get engaged to Chen Yang. Given Chen Yang's current wealth, her future life is destined to be quite good. Moreover, as Chen Yang continues to grow, her future life will only become happier and happier. With that, he, as the older brother, was completely relieved. Yi Qingye and Chen Yang personally escorted Yi Minghui to the door, watched him get into the car, started the engine, and watched the car gradually disappear from sight before turning back to the villa. Chapter 209. A conversation between Yi family father and son, their evaluation and expectations of Chen Yang. It was late at night. Yi Minghui returned home. At this moment, the father, Yi Zhenghua, and the mother, Wen Jai, were sitting on the sofa in the living room. Upon seeing their son, Yi Minghui, the couple were utterly shocked. "Minghui, when did you get back? Why didn't you tell Dad beforehand?" Yi Zhenghua asked with a curious look. "Dad, I received a call from Mom last night saying that my younger sister is getting engaged soon. I asked my boss for leave overnight and took the high-speed train to Shanghai." Yi Minghui walked to his father's seat and sat down, replying respectfully, "So you've met your sister and future brother-in-law." Upon hearing this, Yi Zhenghua smiled and asked, "Yes, I went to see them in the evening and had a meal there." Yi Minghui nodded and told the truth. "So, do you really think from the bottom of your heart that your sister has excellent taste in men?" Yi Zhenghua looked at Yi Minghui and asked. "Yes. At first I thought that this guy must have used some tricks to deceive the girl. Or he used some underhanded means to make his younger sister fall head over heels in love with him. But after I really got to know him, I realized that this guy was an absolute freakish genius. Yi Minghui couldn't help but sigh. He then continued, "Dad, you probably can't believe it. I, a Special Forces instructor, had a match with him. I thought I could easily crush him, but the strength he showed far exceeded my expectations. What's most terrifying is his astonishing talent for learning. As you know, I've seen countless geniuses in the military, but in the end, they all became my defeated opponents. But Chen Yang was different. When he fought me, he actually seemed to be in complete control. In the end, he even used the grappling techniques I used to subdue me in one move. I was shocked and incredulous at the time. Later, I demonstrated the Black Dragon 18 hands in front of him. This kid only glanced at it and not only perfectly copied it, but even made the military killing technique even more powerful. In all my life, this is the first time I've ever seen such a monstrous genius." Yi Minghui is still deeply moved when he recalls the scene. Yi Zhenghua smiled and said, "Yes. Although Chen Yang is young, he is exceptionally talented. He is kind-hearted, calm, and experienced in his work. He is understanding and worldly wise. To be worldly wise without being cynical is the most precious quality. Given his abilities and character, he will surely achieve great things in the future. Your mother and I are very clear about this, and your sister truly loves him from the bottom of her heart and is pregnant with his child. We only agreed to let them date and even get them engaged after considering all the factors. For that reason, I had your sister take him back to Kyoto a few days ago so he could personally visit your grandparents. You know how much your grandfather loves your sister. He has seen countless people in his life, and even he approves of Chen Yang's abilities and character, which is why we feel more at ease in trusting your sister to Chen Yang's care. And most importantly, if Chen Yang becomes our Yi family's son-in-law in a sense, it will also help your grandfather out of a predicament. He will no longer have to worry about which family to marry Qingya off to, just to appease his old comrades. Our Yi family has gained such a wonderful son-in-law. Whether it is for Qingya personally or for our entire Yi family, it is a happy situation for everyone. The Yi family wielded immense power and enjoyed great prosperity in Kyoto. That's why so many families try to curry favor with and fawn over them. However, those who are truly at the top level despise this kind of factionalism and factionalism. Therefore, a marriage alliance is impossible. But Yi Qingya's happiness cannot be compromised. This situation, in a way, is an unexpected blessing that has timely resolved the Yi family's current awkward predicament. Of course, the most important point, Chen Yang won Yi Qingya's favor and admiration with his talent and ability. At the same time, he also gained the favor of the Yi family. If Chen Yang weren't exceptionally talented, even if he had a relationship with Yi Qingya and got her pregnant, there will definitely be no future between them. The Yi family would never accept Chen Yang as their son-in-law. This may sound harsh, but it's the reality. After all, marriage is not like dating. It's more about matching social status and background. People with vastly different family backgrounds will find it difficult to stay together. Chen Yang was fully aware of this. Fortunately, he activated the system, which granted him various abilities, giving him absolute confidence. Otherwise, given the Yi family's immense influence, he wouldn't have had the courage to continue his relationship with Yi Qingya. The story may have already taken a different turn. Dad, you're right. Although Chen Yang comes from an ordinary family, in terms of personal ability alone, it would be difficult to find a peer in the entire capital city among so many noble families who can compare with him. So, in my opinion, my sister's engagement to Chen Yang is not necessarily a bad thing. With the protection and silent support of the Yi family, Chen Yang's future path will definitely become smoother and smoother. Given time, it will surely grow in strength and become one of the forces that support our Yi family. This is the first time Yi Minghui and Chen Yang have met. However, through his sister's and parents' evaluations, they discovered that Chen Yang was not only highly capable, but also a very reliable person. Based on this alone, once he becomes the son-in-law of the Yi family, his career will surely take off. Before long, Chen Yang will no longer be an ordinary boy from a poor family, but will transform into a business tycoon with the confidence and strength to confront capital. That's right. I heard from your sister that Chen Yang has been making a lot of moves lately. The company is doing better and better, and it even has close ties with Qin Dong, the eldest son of the Qin family in Shanghai, which seems to indicate some kind of cooperation. Not only that, he also recruited your uncle and cousin Lin Kun. I believe that soon, an earthquake will occur in Shanghai's financial circle, and he will become a well-known figure in the industry. However, the most urgent task is not how well Chen Yang develops the company, but to resolve his marriage with your sister as soon as possible. Only in this way can your sister rest assured during her pregnancy and give birth legitimately. Yi Zhenghua nodded and said with a serious expression, "Okay, I understand." Yi Minghui responded with a smile. "You've had a long journey, get some rest tonight. These next few days, stay by your sister's side and see if she needs anything else. As her brother, please help her out." Yi Zhenghua reminded him. "Good." Yi Minghui readily agreed. "Son, your dad is busy with work and can't pay much attention to your sister's marriage. You've come back at just the right time. We, your mother and son, can help you choose the right person for your sister." Wen Jai said with a happy expression, "Mom, I'll listen to you. Whatever you say, we'll do it." Yi Minghui smiled slightly and flattered him. Chapter 210, Proficiency Increases Madly, Accompanying Parents and School Beauty Girlfriend to Look at Engagement Hotels. The next morning, Chen Yang wakes up on time, according to his biological clock. After washing up, I changed into my workout clothes and went out for my morning exercise. After running half a lap around the villa complex to finish warming up, I found an open space and started my daily martial arts practice. Host detected practicing Bagua Yulong Palm, proficiency plus 500. 8 trigrams swimming dragon palm advanced, 1010,000. Host detected practicing Hung Kuan, proficiency plus 200. Hung Kuan beginner level, 2205,000. Host detected practicing military grappling techniques, proficiency plus 200. Military grappling technique, beginner level, 2205,000. Host detected practicing the Black Dragon 18 hands, proficiency plus 200. Black Dragon 18 hands beginner level, 2205,000. After a series of drills, Chen Yang not only did not feel exhausted, but felt refreshed and had inexhaustible energy. Moreover, his own martial prowess is growing at an astonishing rate. His clothes were soaked with sweat and smelled bad, so Chen Yang felt uncomfortable and immediately headed home. Inside the villa, Mother Wu Yan had already gotten up and prepared breakfast. Chen Yang greeted his mother and went straight to his room on the second floor. I grabbed a change of clothes and strode into the bathroom to take a shower. 15 minutes later, Chen Yang walked out of the bathroom just as Yi Qingye woke up from her bed. Seeing that Chen Yang's hair was still wet, one could tell that he must have just finished his morning exercise and taken a shower. "Chen Yang, come and help me get out of bed." Yi Qingye looked at Chen Yang with a coquettish expression and said, "You're such a grown-up, yet you're still so childish." Chen Yang couldn't help but laugh. Of course, though he said it, his actions showed no sign of refusal. He walked to the bedside, put his arms around Yi Qingye's slender waist, and with a little effort, he easily lifted Yi Qingye's weight of nearly 100 pounds, showing his strong boyfriend's strength. "What's wrong with being a little childish in front of someone you like? Or is it that you don't love me anymore, or that you find me annoying?" Yi Qingye pouted and said with dissatisfaction, "No, I didn't say that. Your Highness, the sun is already high in the sky. It's time to get up. After all, tomorrow is our engagement day, and we have a lot of things to do, so time is tight. After we get engaged, you can sleep in as long as you want, and I promise I won't disturb you." A smile appeared in Chen Yang's eyes as he spoke gently. "Okay, you said it yourself. At that time, I want you to personally serve me 3 meals a day." Yi Qingye wrapped her arms around Chen Yang's neck, her beautiful eyes sparkling, and her smile only growing wider. "No problem." Chen Yang readily agreed. After playing around for a while, Yi Qingye began to wash up and change her clothes. After doing all that, I went downstairs to the lobby for breakfast. At the dining table, Chen Shan looked at his son Chen Yang and suddenly said, "Son, I already informed your uncle and the others yesterday about your engagement. Your grandparents and uncle will arrive at the airport around 11 a.m., and you need to arrange a car to pick them up. Don't forget about this." Upon hearing this, Chen Yang immediately nodded. "Dad, don't worry, I'll make the arrangements in advance. Besides, there are so many empty rooms in the villa. After Grandpa and Grandma, Uncle and Third Uncle's family arrive, I think we shouldn't arrange for them to stay in a hotel. They can just stay in the villa. It will be more lively with more people, since we won't be staying for more than a few days anyway." Upon hearing this, Chen Shan smiled happily. "Okay, I'll do as you say. Qingye, you don't mind, do you?" Chen Yang looked at Yi Qingye and asked. No, the villa is big enough with many guest rooms, and the rooms are well soundproofed, so it won't disturb my rest. Yi Qingye shook her head and said. The main reason she agreed was because she had interacted with Chen Yang's relatives and knew they were all good people. If Chen Yang's relatives are the kind of sycophants who are sharp-tongued and mean-spirited, no matter what Yi Qingye said, she would never agree to Chen Yang's request. After all, living under the same roof and not getting along is undoubtedly torture. That's good. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang breathed a sigh of relief. He immediately took Yi Qingye's hand and gave her a grateful look. Son, why don't you skip the morning trip to the company? I've made an appointment with your Aunt Wen. We're going to go look at the hotel for the engagement banquet later. You and Qingye are the main characters at the wedding banquet. You two can come with us and offer your opinions. Just then, Chen Yang's mother, Wu Yan, looked at him and spoke. Chen Yang thought about it for a moment and realized that this matter was indeed important. After all, both sets of parents were present, so it was understandable that he and Qingye needed to accompany them. So Chen Yang readily nodded. Okay, it's settled then. Qingye and I will go with you to look at the hotel. Okay, Wu Yan replied happily. Soon, Chen Yang took out his phone from his pocket and called the driver, Lin Yuan, asking him to bring the company's 7-seater van over. Half an hour later, driver Lin Yuan drove up to the villa entrance. Chen Yang, his parents, and his girlfriend Yi Qingye got into the car and prepared to leave. Emperor Hotel. It is a star-rated hotel in Shanghai, with a magnificent and luxurious interior that is very popular among the upper class and the wealthy. Because of its immense popularity, the hotel has a large enough space. Therefore, many people hold various wedding banquets, birthday parties, and babies' 100-day celebrations here. When Chen Yang and his family arrived at the hotel, Wen Jai and her son Yi Minghui also arrived just then. Mom, brothers. Upon seeing her mother and elder brother, Yi Qingye immediately rushed forward with joy. Aunt Wen, brother Yi. Chen Yang took the initiative to step forward and greet Wen Jai and Yi Minghui. Chen Yang, you've come at the perfect time. Where do you think would be a good place to hold the wedding banquet? Wen Jai smiled slightly and asked Chen Yang. Aunt Wen, I don't know much about this. You are knowledgeable and experienced, so please help me make a decision. To be honest, Chen Yang was also unsure of how to strike the right balance. After all, the location of a wedding banquet hotel is not always better the more luxurious it is. The main reason is that Yi Zhenghua's identity is sensitive and his lifestyle is too luxurious. If this were to be spread by someone with ulterior motives, it could have a huge impact. However, the Yi family has a powerful background, and the hotel is too low class to reflect its status and position. That's why it's even more of a headache. On the way here, Chen Yang had been thinking about this question the whole time. The final conclusion was to leave the problem to Wen Jai to solve. You're quite clever, knowing to throw the problem at me. Fine, I won't make things difficult for you on this issue. The Emperor Hotel was originally one of the businesses controlled by the Wen family. Its behind-the-scenes boss is Zhang Tianqi, who has cooperated with the Wen family for many years and is trustworthy in terms of character. Therefore, holding the engagement banquet here can minimize the impact and save a lot of trouble. Wen Jai smiled kindly and then slowly spoke. Chapter 211 Emperor Hotel, owner Zhang Tianqi. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang suddenly realized what was going on. I haven't considered many things thoroughly enough, and I'll have to trouble Aunt Wen to help me. Chen Yang adopted a very humble attitude. This shows respect for Wen Jai, an elder, and also expresses the hope that she can offer guidance to help avoid making mistakes. After all, Wen Jai has a special identity and rich experience. She has a clearer understanding of many things than Chen Yang. With her overseeing things, Chen Yang can avoid many detours. Yes, it's good that you have this idea. Wen Jai became more and more satisfied with Chen Yang the more she looked at him. Whether it's his personal abilities or his attitude towards life, there's practically nothing to criticize. Not long after, the group strode into the Emperor Hotel. Inside the lobby, a middle-aged man in a suit and tie, wearing a gold Rolex watch on his wrist, stood in place, accompanied by the hotel manager and the security captain, as if waiting for someone. This man is Zhang Tianqi, the owner of the Emperor Hotel. Mr. Zhang, who exactly is this distinguished guest you're waiting for? How about I go out and take a look for you? Hotel manager Zhao Qi asked with a flattering expression. Manager Zhao, don't ask things you shouldn't ask. And Captain Zhang, you're the same. I'm warning you, the guest who's coming later is of very high status. Anyone who dares to offend her or displease her, without me saying a word, pack your things and get out. Zheng Tianqi's expression was extremely serious, and he spoke solemnly. These words were spoken. Manager Zhao and Captain Zhang were shocked, their hearts filled with disbelief. You should know that in all the time they've worked at the Emperor Hotel, this is the first time they've ever seen their boss so serious. Thinking about this, the two of them felt both curious and apprehensive about the identity of the distinguished guest who was about to arrive. They're here. Zheng Tianqi kept his eyes fixed on the hotel entrance. Upon seeing Wen Jai and her son Yi Minghui, Zheng Tianqi's expression changed instantly. So he whispered a reminder to Manager Zhao and Captain Zhang next to him. The next moment, he quickly stepped forward to meet him. Seeing this, Manager Zhao and Zhang exchanged a glance and quickly followed closely behind Zheng Tianqi. Madam Yi, it's been a long time. You still look as radiant as ever. Zheng Tianqi walked up to Wen Jai, extended his hand, bowed slightly, and said respectfully. Wen Jai smiled and shook hands with Zheng Tianqi, but quickly let go. She raised her head and said gently, Mr. Zheng, you flatter me. You're so busy with work, yet the hotel business is booming. To be honest, our Wen family has really benefited from your success. Wen Jai has a high EQ. With just a few words, she gave Zheng Tianqi face without losing face. Madam Yi, this must be your eldest son, right? He is truly handsome and dashing, quite like your husband in his prime. Zheng Tianqi smiled and continued. Good. Let me introduce you to Mr. Zheng. This is my eldest son, Yi Minghui. This is my youngest daughter, Yi Qingya. She is studying at Shanghai University and will graduate this year. As for this man, he is my daughter's boyfriend, Chen Yang. These two are Chen Yang's parents. Wen Jai, poised and confident, introduced herself directly. Madam Yi has both a son and a daughter and is young and promising. She is truly the envy of others. But what brings you here amidst your busy schedule? If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. After some polite exchanges, Zheng Tianqi then took the initiative to inquire about Wen Jai's purpose in coming. Mr. Zheng, there are too many people here. Why don't we find a quieter place to talk? Wen Jai did not speak directly. Instead, he smiled and offered his suggestion. No problem. Madam Yi and everyone else this way, please. As he spoke, Zheng Tianqi stepped aside and gestured for them to proceed. Led by Zheng Tianqi, Wen Jai and the others arrived at a side hall where there were tables, chairs, tea, and snacks. Clearly, Zheng Tianqi had the hotel staff prepare everything in advance. As everyone took their seats, Zheng Tianqi looked at Wen Jai, expecting her to explain her purpose. Seeing this, Wen Jai didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Mr. Zheng, to be honest, I came here today specifically to see if the Emperor Hotel has any vacancies that could help us host our engagement banquet. Zheng Tianqi was somewhat surprised when Wen Jai said this. Is it really worth making Wen Jai go to such lengths and personally make a trip for such a trivial matter? However, the next second, Zheng Tianqi's gaze fell on Yi Qingya and Chen Yang, and he immediately understood everything. No wonder Wen Jai came in person, bringing Chen Yang's parents with her. So this engagement banquet was actually prepared especially for the two of them. No, what is Chen Yang's background? Not only did he catch the eye of the Yi family princess, but he also got the consent of Secretary Yi and Madam Yi, successfully getting the two of them engaged and making him the Yi family's son-in-law. If this news gets out, it will definitely cause a huge uproar in the upper echelons of Shanghai. Even the top powerful families in Kyoto can't help but pay attention to this matter. Zheng Tianqi's expression appeared calm, but at this moment, his heart was already in turmoil. I find this utterly unbelievable. After a long while, Zheng Tianqi gradually calmed down, met Wen Jai's gaze, and said, Mrs. Yi, since you have personally spoken, the Emperor Hotel will definitely have vacancies to host your daughter and Mr. Chen's engagement banquet. And I assure you all that I will make you all satisfied. After hearing this, Wen Jai smiled with satisfaction. President Zheng is indeed very straightforward. The engagement banquet is scheduled for tomorrow. The time may be a bit tight, but we still hope that Mr. Zheng can do his best to make it a success. The wedding banquet setup and decorations don't need to be too extravagant, and the ceremony should be kept simple. We are just two families and some relatives and friends sitting down for a simple meal. Zheng Tianqi nodded, indicating that he understood. Although Wen Jai said that the venue setup and attire didn't need to be too luxurious, Yi Qingya was, after all, the daughter of the Yi family. Given her status, the wedding banquet absolutely cannot be too simple. Otherwise, if word got out, People would think the Yi family was too poor to afford a decent engagement banquet for their daughter. Zhang Tianqi's ability to build such a large business naturally stems from his understanding of how to accurately grasp the nuances of things. And when this is, after all, my engagement banquet with Qingye. Although it is indeed inappropriate for Uncle Yi to be too extravagant, we still need to maintain a certain level of sophistication. I will pay for this. Even if someone wants to make a fuss about this, it is because I, as the son-in-law, have the means and want to give Qingye an unforgettable engagement banquet. What do you think of my arrangement? Chen Yang spoke up at the opportune moment, offering his suggestion to Wen Jai. From Wen Jai's perspective, she has concerns, and Chen Yang understands that. However, from Chen Yang's perspective, it's perfectly understandable that he wants to throw a high-class engagement party for his fiancée. Moreover, it is very much in line with the behavior style of teenagers. Even if someone wanted to make a fuss about this, they wouldn't be able to touch the Yi family at all. Chapter 212, Wedding Venue decided. On site design, parents and brother-in-law toured the company. Mom, I think Chen Yang is right. This is, after all, our engagement party, and it's our first time doing this in our lives. Just agree and do as Chen Yang says. Yi Qingye was clearly on the same side as Chen Yang. She could understand her mother's worries. After all, being born into a powerful family may seem to grant them many privileges, but they must be careful in many things, for fear of making mistakes and being targeted and suppressed by the Yi family's rival forces. Therefore, in many things, Yi Qingye would listen to her parents' advice, be humble and low-key, and never show off. But this time is different. The engagement party was the most important moment of her life, although it wasn't a formal wedding ceremony. But in front of her own family, she also wanted to dress appropriately, show her most beautiful and charming side, and then be with Chen Yang in a grand and glorious way, receiving the blessings of her family and loved ones. Mom, I don't think this is a matter of principle. Why don't you just say yes? Seeing that Chen Yang and Yi Qingye took the initiative to speak. Yi Minghui, who had been silent all along, also stepped forward and said a few kind words for them. Upon witnessing this scene, Wen Jai shook her head, a smile involuntarily appearing on her face. Okay, I agree. However, you should still be careful not to be too ostentatious, so as not to bring a bad influence to your father. Upon hearing this, Chen Yang and Yi Qingye exchanged a glance, and bright smiles appeared on their faces. Don't worry, Aunt Wen, I'll know what's good for me, Chen Yang said with a grateful expression. Only then did Zhang Tianqi turn his gaze to Chen Yang and examine him carefully. His first impression of Chen Yang was that he was handsome and had a very dignified demeanor. Mr. Chen, please feel free to ask if you have any needs. I will have Manager Zhao and Captain Zhang provide full assistance throughout the process. Zhang Tianqi spoke to Chen Yang with a kind expression. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang. Chen Yang nodded and replied with a smile. Of course, Zhang Tianqi quickly replied. Next, Zhang Tianqi and Wen Jai started chatting. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye, led by Manager Zhao, personally toured the wedding banquet venue, and then provided them with photos of weddings that the hotel had previously planned for their reference. Chen Yang and Yi Qingye looked it over, but they weren't very satisfied. The two discussed the details and quickly came up with a plan. Manager Zhao, do you have paper and a pen? Chen Yang suddenly asked Manager Zhao a question. Some. Mr. Chen, please wait a moment. After saying that, Manager Zhao immediately found paper and pen and handed them to Chen Yang. After taking the paper and pen, Chen Yang began to draw a sketch on the spot in front of Yi Qingye and Manager Zhao. Host detected designing a wedding scene. Design thinking plus 200. Drawing proficiency plus 200. Junior designer 205,000. Chen Yang's writing is divinely inspired. Within minutes, a simple framework and on-site design took shape in his hand, making it easy to see the effect he wanted to achieve. This scene, Yi Qingye and Manager Zhao were both utterly shocked. Chen Yang, you're amazing. Not only can he draw, but he can also come up with design solutions with ease. I feel that their abilities are in no way inferior to those of professional wedding venue designers. Yi Qingye covered her mouth, exclaiming in surprise. At this moment, her gaze towards Chen Yang was filled with disbelief and admiration. It's not as exaggerated as you say. I've only learned a little bit, so simple designs aren't a problem. Chen Yang shrugged and replied with a faint smile. Mr. Chen, you are too modest. I have worked in the hotel industry for many years and have come across many wedding designs, but most of their designs are very similar. Only your design is more innovative and gives people a fresh feeling. This is talent, but more importantly, it's skill. It's a good thing you didn't work in the wedding design industry. Otherwise, a lot of people in that field would definitely be out of work. Manager Zhao is also a person with extremely high emotional intelligence. Firstly, he knew that Chen Yang was of noble status and far beyond what he could afford to offend, so he was willing to provide emotional support in a timely manner. Secondly, he wasn't exaggerating. Chen Yang's design skills are what they are. He may not be as good as professionals, but to laymen, he is definitely at the top level. In this situation, his answer would not offend Chen Yang. On the contrary, people might think he's good at handling things. It makes it easier to close the distance. This will be entirely beneficial to Manager Zhao's work going forward. Manager Zhao, you flatter me. Please arrange the wedding venue according to my design. Thank you and the hotel staff for your help. After the engagement banquet, I will give each of you a large red envelope so that you can share in the joy. Chen Yang is a generous person by nature. Hearing how eloquent Manager Zhao